I'm going to go 3, 2, 1. There we go.
Off the mark, are we? We're off.
Yeah.
Excellent, buddy. Well, good morning, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on whenever you're watching it back. Morning, Hatham. Thanks for jumping on with us, buddy.
All right.
So we're on. Yeah. I think you were sort of tied up with all sorts in the office last week, weren't you? So I didn't catch you last week. But how are things Sunderland way? What's going on? Because I'm really out the loop over this way.
Yeah, we're doing all right. We've just got bits and pieces that we need to get out and about. Some devices that are going out, some kit that's going out. So it was all trying to sort that out basically.
Oh, of course, yeah.
So I was out and about in the sunshine, dropping boxes of tablets and computers and stuff off.
Yeah, it's nice to be doing out in the sun instead of the snow as well, mind, isn't it? Yeah,
the
definitely.
old legs it hadn't quite packed in yet, so I managed to get around the doors.
Oh, nice one, buddy. Are you seeing much of a change through there? And then, of course, any guys watching in the chat, are you seeing much change from last week when we had a few restrictions start to lift? Are we seeing more people out and about? Yeah. I've actually found that when I'm going out on a walk, there's less people now. I don't know if because they've got beer gardens to be in or shops to be at as well. But things are actually dying down a little bit, or where I'm putting myself dying down.
Probably where you're walking, because if you go down like the seafront where I normally go for a run or the dogs will go out, like it's busier, but that's because it's on the route of where people are going.
Of course, yeah.
But I think a few of the pubs I went on Saturday, we went for some food and a couple of drinks, and it was good. The vibe's pretty good, to be honest. Everyone seems a lot happier.
Yeah, and people doing what they should be doing, sticking with guidelines, sticking with sort of procedures and stuff like that. That's what we want, isn't it? It was
all outdoors as well, so it was good.
Of course, yeah. Oh, I know.
It's cold on the old seafront, like towards the night time, but.
I bet. Do you know what? There's been days through here where we've been absolutely red hot with all pretty much all the windows open, and then come 7, 8 o'clock at night, it's like, actually, we have the heating on for an hour.
For a reason. In April as well. That's the main issue. It's April.
Yeah, you say that, but it was 10 days since we had a load of snow over here.
Yeah,
absolutely crazy. But it is nice to see things moving forward, both in the weather and hopefully in terms of things moving back towards normal.
Yeah.
However long that takes, and like I always say, making sure that we're doing it at a safe sort of sustainable rate as well. But it is nice to see. It's nice to be able to see a few different faces, have people around chilling in the garden.
Yeah.
So hopefully we're all feeling the benefit from that.
I think there was a few running clubs and that had obviously been allowed to meet back up as well. I've seen a few walking clubs as well. I've seen a few groups of people out and about, bigger groups, which is good.
Yeah, definitely.
Football's obviously back.
It's
team sport outdoors is back now.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's a nice change, isn't it?
Some people playing basketball, netball, football, cricket. There was a couple of lads playing cricket.
Yeah, okay. Because obviously those sort of things have been restricted for so long. But for a lot of people, we sort of talked about it last week when we were looking at different fitness activities and facilities and stuff like that. The gym isn't for everybody. Some people do get the most out of their sort of competitive drive in that sort of competitive environment, don't they? Not everybody wants to go to the gym and chuck weights around. Some people I'd rather have a game of five-a-side or a little bit of netball or basketball. It is.
It's not the same. There's no if you go for a run, you're either solely focused on running or you're completely mentally checked out. But when you play a team game, it's different. It's a different mindset. And it's not always hyper competitive either. Some people really do like that, and I quite like that. I like to play to win, but I don't mind just having a kick about for an hour or two where we're just we're just passing the ball around really, and taking penalties and free kicks and
that's it.
Heads and volleys and that, and that's fine as well. I'm not either way. I'm out and about moving, and I'm doing something I enjoy. So
exactly, and of course, it is a little bit more social than just going for a run by yourself, isn't it? At the minute,
I've had about enough of all that garbage for a long time.
Yeah. Sounds like your knees have had enough of all that.
You got no idea.
Yeah, definitely. But that's an interesting point that you made a minute ago, buddy, about sort of rambling and walking groups and running groups and stuff being sort of back on and starting to get together again. Because again, that sort of ties in with what we talked about last week, where we're saying now's as good a time as any to start having a look at what's available available to you in the area, you know.
Yeah.
Be you sort of based in Sunderland, or you might be a little bit closer to this way and be over sort of Durham way. Wherever you're at, you know, things are going to be opening up, procedures are going to be different. Obviously, sort of back end of last year when gyms were open for a little bit, every gym I heard about was doing things a little bit differently. You know, some was like wipe machines down after yourself, some was book yourself a slot, and then wait and clean everything down at the end of that hour and sort of half an hour turnaround. So there's a lot of sort of unknown still at the minute in terms of what is going to be available and how it's going to be available. So again, you know, now's as good a time as any to be starting to have a look, see what's going to maybe be coming back in your area, what's available now with this sort of phase of lifting restrictions, and maybe just keep an eye on what's going to be available sort of this time next month, as hopefully, you know, we're able to look at the numbers and reflect and say, look, we can safely carry on with the roadmap that we've put out in front of us.
There was 5 deaths yesterday, I think, in total.
Was there? Yeah. Also, you know,
not great, but we're in a lot better position than we were.
Yeah, definitely to say that we were what 15, 16, 1700 some days around about Christmas in January. It's nice and relieving to see those numbers coming down. Long may it last, you know, long may it last as far as I can say, like definitely.
I think the roadmap, like indoor dining and pubs and stuff is until next month anyway, so I think
yes.
And I think that the novelty will wear off after a while. It's sitting in the cold and drinking. I think it's been a good week for the pubs because everyone was just like wall to wall. Like every single night there was someone in the pub, or the pub, at least in Shields anyway. Like down the seafront, driving down in Sunderland as well. The coast down the coast, it's busy, which is good. You know, you need the business, you need the coffee shops, you need the pubs, you need the takeaways.
Definitely, definitely.
There, so.
Exactly, mate. Especially the small businesses and stuff like that as well, isn't it? You know, we need them to bounce back as much as anything. As nice as big corporations like Amazon and stuff are, you know, we need them small businesses to keep us going as well. So, do you know what? Again, when it comes to where you're going to go with your fitness journey, what is your plan for this year? You know, have you got like a little independent local gym nearby you or something like that? Is there a little studio gym? You know, at the same time, I think some of the big chains are going to need a little bit of help as well because, of course, a load of people will rush back, but I think there's going to be a load of people quite hesitant to rush back as well. So, again, you know, a little bit of a tangent, but keep things local, support those smaller businesses as we're moving forward, be it gyms, fitness classes, and everything like that as well, you know. Okay, guys, so a little bit of a recap on what we did last week. Like I just sort of mentioned, next slide, buddy, please, if you don't mind. So, we looked at different fitness activities that we can get involved with and how each might help us towards our own sort of fitness goals. You know, we've talked a lot by now about different components of fitness, different body types. You know, you might be realizing now that all the training that you've done in the past, you know, running on the treadmill at the gym, yes, it's a little bit towards weight loss, depending on where your calories are and what's going on with your food. But really, the main benefit you're getting is that sort of aerobic endurance, isn't it? You know, that cardiovascular endurance. So by now, you might be thinking to yourself, okay, that's nice to have. Of course, we all like to get up the stairs. We all like to run around the garden without getting out of breath. But you might be thinking, you know what, I do want to build a little bit of muscle this year, you know, or tone up a little bit or work on these areas. So now you might be thinking, okay, I need to look elsewhere or at different sort of options, you know, even if it is just moving away from the cardio section in the gym and moving into the resistance area, you know. But there is a lot of stuff out there, you know, like we've sort of mentioned already. We've got team sports out there. We've got walking groups, running groups. Gyms are opening back up, little studios, one-on-one personal training, you know. So we've got a lot more at our disposal than we have for the last 12 months, really, you know, which is nice.
It's like the knowledge as well, isn't it? Like people know. I think previously, if there wasn't any gyms open or anything, people would be really hesitant to do anything because they didn't really know what to do. Now people know that they can get a workout without necessarily going to the gym or a class or whatever it is. Like they can get something in and be like happy with it.
Well, that's definitely
the most important thing for me. Like I was stressed out big time when they shut. I was like, this is the worst. It was my worst nightmare. It was like, well, what am I gonna do? Like, and I know I can get by without. It's not ideal for me personally, but I know I can get by without it, which is gives you like confidence to
That's
just
the
keep going.
thing, isn't it? And I think that's what a lot of people have done for the last year, kind of just bridge the gap. Do you know what I mean? Like, yeah, gyms are coming back. For like the way that I do fitness, the fitness that I want to pursue will come back, and I think people have done really well to keep themselves sort of, because it's almost treading water in certain ways, isn't it? You know, just sort of when it comes to the resistance training side of things, you just sort of treading water and waiting to be able to sort of pick up from where you left off, hopefully, you know. And I think there's probably a few people in for a little bit of a shock when they walk back into the gym that first week and go to the old the old 40-kilogram dumbbells and we're like, right, let's get this first set of bench done. Ooh. And you know, they're getting humbled by the 25s or the 30s or whatever it might be, you know. I think
we made a personal trainer and he messaged us on Monday the Monday when the first open was it
last Monday, yeah.
And he was like, yeah, me, like the kid, there was a kid in and he was saying a kid, he was like probably same age as us really, but he had two people spotting him and he was physically shaking after about 2 reps because he was trying to jump back in where he was and you could just see
really
his face bright like
that's it.
Yeah,
the old ego is going to take a hit because of course we've got to take that step back over. You know, it's the same as when we started training. You've got to you've got to get the technique down again. You've got to get them stabilizing muscles engaged, and before you can start really pursuing the weight and make sure that you're doing it safely. Which is of course kind of what we're talking about this morning, making sure that we're in a safe environment and sort of participating in exercise and fitness as safely as we can.
I suppose COVID safely as well, because I mean, I've literally, you know, not to flex too much, but I've been to the gym this morning because I'm like, I'm after it today.
Nice.
I got up, I was like, you know, I've trained last night with Dan, and then I was like, do I really want to wait till after work tomorrow, or do I just want to go and get it over with? I was like, just get it over with.
Get it done.
When I went in, like you were saying, like they have you clean, you have to sanitize your hands before you go through the door, because you have to like code yourself in. You have to have a mask on when you're in between stations, and then you have to wipe down all your kit after you've used it. And then there's 2 members of staff going around the gym pretty much non-stop cleaning.
Really, yeah.
And I mean, that's another level of like the health and safety. But if you're not doing it, they'll come around and tell you like you need to do this. Like,
definitely, yeah. Yeah, definitely. I remember when I was still in the gym last year, when everything sort of kicked off, I didn't have the antibacterial spray out my hand. You know what I mean? It was just absolutely constant. We're going to have to keep it up going forward. You know.
Yeah, I don't think it's a bad thing, to be honest. I mean, I always used to take a towel round, and wipe machines down, because it's not worse than going to sit on like a bench or something and there's like a big sweat patch on the back and like all down the back. You're like, who's left this? You're like, leave your horrible sweat lying behind you.
That's it, definitely. It's arguably stuff that we should have been doing in the first place anyway. Some people were, you know, and again, keep it up, you know, because especially being on the other side of it, you know, where the gym staff do appreciate it, and like we say, it's essential at the minute, you know. So yeah, COVID safe is something that we're going to need to think about going forward as well. Again, sort of as things open up. So that's something to bear in mind for the day as well. Just finishing up last week, we looked at different fitness classes, what they involved, you know. So again, if you're this week looking at things in the area and you're seeing body pump fitness class over here and you're seeing spin here and you're seeing Zumba over there, you're not really sure which one might be for you, by all means go back and check out last week's session again.
Because we really do Zumba, you definitely need to have the hips for it.
Oh, you've got to
give it a good wiggle, I think.
That's the thing. You've got to commit. Like you've really got to commit to it.
There's no half measures with the Zumba class. Like I couldn't do it. I haven't got the coordination, unfortunately. I can do all sorts of like football drills and like sprint drills and that, and then when it comes to like moving my body in it to rhythm,
yeah, because that's the thing, isn't it? You've got to not only have the skill, but you've got to have the flair as well, man. You've got to bring the flair.
Confidence, it's all inside.
That's it, mate. You know, I once got approached and asked to run a Zumba class. I was just like, you know what? I'll do spin, I'll do MetaFit, I'll do body pump. I was like, I've got 2 left feet. You know what I mean? That's not the one for me. That's definitely not the one for me.
It's worse when you're the instructor, because you have to be good. Like, there's no, at least if you're in a class and it's not going your way, that's fine. Like, you know, you're not going to get it. But if you're the instructor, you have to be good at it.
That's it. Yeah, practice what you preach and all that. Definitely. definitely. But yeah, there was a lot of interesting stuff that we sort of went into last week, just saying sort of different stuff that might be available to you again. So yeah, by all means, go back and check that out. And we were just looking at different areas that we can go for fitness as well. You know, I know that we've had outside and parks have been available to us for a while now. You know, public footpaths, and now we're getting to the stuff again where we have got gyms. You know, community centres are going to be available for hire again, indoor sort of fitness classes as well. You know, like me and Mel used to run a big college that was just in the sports hall. You know, so now those are available again. Those things are going to start coming back, and it's awesome to have options, really, isn't it? You know, it's amazing to have options, but of course sometimes with options comes a little bit of confusion. Like, okay, where do I point myself now? You know, I've done what I've sort of seen to keep myself ticking over. I've done some of the media savvy fitness videos. I've done some stretching in the house. I've done some walking. Now the world's opening up again. I've got all this available to me. Where do I sort of start? So again, we talked about that last week, and we'll get onto that a little bit this week as well. If we can just go on next slide, please, buddy. Just looking at what we are going to be going through next week. Sort of mentioned doing fitness safely, but we're going to be looking at developing sort of like a risk assessment sort of skill and the ability to pick out potential sort of hazards or stuff that we need to be wary of. You know, because that is a good skill that will not only serve you really well in a fitness environment, you know, be it a circuit class where everything's all systems go. But at the same time, you know, if we're in a work environment, you know, on a shop floor, in an office, or even just in the house, you know, being able to look at different potential hazards and sort of carry out a little bit of a risk assessment. So we're going to just look at a couple of pictures, and we're going to just pick out some of the potential hazards on there as well. Park queues are something that we're just going to run through pretty quickly, because park queue is something that you're probably going to fill in, or you should be filling in if you're joining a gym, taking up any personal training, like in a one-on-one capacity or anything like that. Is a park queue anything you've come across before, buddy? You know, where you're putting like it's pretty much your it's a physical activity readiness questionnaire. So before you partake in any of it, in any fitness, you know, it'll be certain things, you know, history of heart conditions in the family, any injuries that you've got, that sort of thing. Because of course the gym needs to be available to be aware of that sort of thing. And it's pretty much you just saying, look, you know what, as far as I'm aware, I'm fit and I'm healthy and I'm able to engage in the fitness that I'm trying to, you know. And worst case scenario, at the end of the day, you might need to go away to a GP and just sort of get, not sort of permission, but sort of guidance and approval to go away and sort of, you know, start joining in stuff that's going to raise your heart rate. You know, because obviously certain conditions, certain people, that's not the best thing for you. So of course, we need to make sure that we're looking at that sort of stuff.
It's standard procedure for the gym staff because they want to be covered, right? They don't want someone coming in and having a massive like heart attack, or, you know,
pretty much, yeah.
They're like heavily pregnant. Obviously, I would probably be able to see if they were heavily pregnant, like, but you know what I mean? It's like from their point of view, they're like, well, if you've got any of these things and you don't tell us, we're not going to be able to accommodate for you, sort of thing.
Yeah, definitely, you know, and sort of at least, like you say, it does cover the gym massively as well, you know, because like you say, someone comes in, just using that for an example, you know, and God forbid anything was to happen to the baby or anything like that, you know, the gym needs to be able to say, well, you told us on your park queue that you're not pregnant or something like that. Pretty much. So it's just putting a little bit of responsibility on you as much as the responsibility to make sure that the park queue is filled out live with the gym as much as anything, you know.
Like, they're not going to put you, if you've just had like a heart transplant or whatever, they're not going to put you straight onto like an intense cardio routine.
Exactly.
You want like a rehab, not just like, right, get on the treadmill and do it on like 20 speed for 10 minutes.
Exactly, you know, and that's something that we're gonna, yeah. That is something. Well, that's pretty counterproductive, isn't it? You know, it's the opposite of what we actually want.
Definitely is.
Yeah, definitely, buddy. So, that's something that we're going to be thinking about, and just other stuff that we'd expect in our gym induction as well, because this is probably where you're going to come across your park queue, you know, especially if you're saying, right, give me the direct debit form, I'm going to sign up for 12 months or whatever it's going to be. You should be filling in your park queue then and just saying, look, I'm fit and I'm ready to go, sort of thing. And any other health questionnaires that might be sort of thrown in there as well. We're just going to have a little bit of a look at this morning as well. But we'll get there, buddy. So I say just to start us off, we've got a couple of images that we're going to look at, and I know that you've seen them before, Hatham. So we'll give the guys a couple of minutes and just see which ones they maybe do pick out. So if we can just go, oh, you beat us to it, mate. You beat us to it. So yeah, we're just looking at so this workplace. There's a lot going on. The first thing that I can think of off the bat, would be people aren't socially distancing. They're not far enough apart. There's no masks where they should be. We're not. We haven't got windows open and as such to help with ventilation and stuff like that as well. So there's a big one off the bat. Oh, I've just seen Gary's getting in the chat as well. Morning, guys. So just like I say, I'm just thinking about the first one that sort of catches my eye there. It's usually when I look at this, it's the guy in the bottom who just looks absolutely stressed to death. The one who looks like he's pulling his hair out, and whether that is just a case of his workspace behind him isn't very organised. It's a bit of a clutter,
We'll just highlight this whole area. It's just a complete.
Yeah. It's a bit of a nightmare down there, isn't it?
Doors open, he's kicking off. It's not looking good for him.
That's it. We've got boxes stacked up on desks, open boxes stacked up on desks. We can see the lady behind sort of the speech bubble is whatever she's getting out of that box, she's dropping all over the floor, be it a box of staples or whatever it is. We've got cupboard doors open, blocking walkways. And like Hatham said a minute ago, the drawer that's sticking out as well. There's a lot going on just down in this section alone, that people could bump into, bash into, trip over, that sort of thing. Coming up a little bit higher, we've got a fire door that's wide open, propped open by the looks actually. The fire door's propped open as it shouldn't be. I didn't realise until I saw a video not long ago just how resistant these fire doors can be. To be honest, it was just like a little clip, like a little 30 seconds of firefighter walking through a building, and where the fire had been was absolutely gutted, just like the skeleton of a building. And on the other side of this fire door was pretty much untouched. So not only going to save lives, but saving sort of property and material things as well, potentially.
Time as well, and it gives them time to get there.
Well, potentially gives people time to get out of the building, to sort of evacuate the building as well. And of course, the more you can slow it down, the more time you've got time to sort of pick up on, okay, we're doing the assembly out in the yard. I'm missing a person. Do you know what I mean? Where's that person? If you've got all your fire doors closed, it's going to buy you more time to figure out what your plan's going to be in that sort of situation as well. And of course, depending on what workspace you're in, there should always be sort of like a fire guidelines and sort of procedure. And they should be doing drills as well, I've been in gyms over the years where, I've had to go around and tell gym members, look, we're doing a drill, and this is where we're going to be meeting. Can you just sort of make your way outside when you hear the alarm sort of thing?
You didn't do it like on The Office where you put you set a fire in a bin and just scream fire.
Yeah, that's it. Just make sure everybody can get out, and then just stand out there with a stopwatch and just chastise everybody for taking too long. Yeah, definitely.
How do it next time?
That's the way to do it. Or just leave a hot pocket in the microwave, isn't it?
Yeah. Microwave some foil, you'll be all right.
Yeah, that'll be the one.
Do not do that.
Not advised. Yeah, definitely not advised. But yeah, we should be getting fire drills and stuff like that, and making sure that everybody knows what to do in the event of a fire. Every company, every building should have its own procedures. Okay, so the woman coming through the door, Haytham's already sort of highlighted it. We've got that she's carrying the she's done the coffee run, hasn't she? She's done the brew run, and she's not doing a very good job of it, really, is she? We've got one already on the floor. There's one falling off the tray as well. So we've got hot liquid. Same again. We've got stuff that we can trip over. That there's a lot going on there. We've got the lady just in front who's not even paying any attention. She's reading something as she's walking along. We've got a handbag down the side of the desk as well. But potentially going to trip on the handle or on the strap of that. So same again, there was a lot going on, even just in the vicinity of the fire door, you know. Then we've got the lady who is up on the office desk chair. You know, definitely not advisable. As somebody who does occasionally need something to stand on to reach the higher shelves, don't make it something with wheels on
We
the
say
bottom.
no wheels, just anything but something with wheels.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. You know, not to
Oh,
mention if she jumps off or falls off, she's potentially onto mugs and into spilled coffees and stuff like that as well. You know, if she comes off that desk, she's taking out the lady carrying another three or four hot drinks. You know, and it's not going to end well. It's not going to end. I end up third-degree burns, and you'll end up looking like Deadpool.
third
Um,
degree burns. You'll have had a fall. Oh, just yeah, don't do it.
it's not a good time. Yeah, it's definitely not a good time. And then of course you're looking at maybe needing time off work, which is it's never an easy thing to try and
Head full of stitches and a couple of
maneuver.
weeks off.
Yeah,
Not
definitely,
ideal.
definitely. Yeah. Speaking about a head full of stitches, we've got the bloke just over to the right of all that who's swinging on his chair. And you know what? I'm sure everybody in school, everybody's teacher had a student who'd come off the
Died.
back of his chair and died, split his head
It wasn't
open.
like
Yeah,
wasn't
just
like
like
split.
outright
He
died.
died. All right, okay, great. Yeah. And then you just do it anyway. You were like, I didn't care.
You're
I'm
like,
invincible.
yeah,
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, it won't happen to me. Yeah, it won't happen to me.
that's what I'm doing.
Yeah, and of course it is easy. I did once see a guy come backwards off his chair, and end up hitting his head, and same again. He was bleeding, and needed stitches and stuff. Yeah,
Yeah.
it wasn't quite the horror story that it was made out to be by the teacher who's trying to like
Didn't
deter
die.
you from doing it. Yeah, he didn't just outright die on the spot.
Like there and
Uh,
then.
yeah, just like spontaneously combust before he'd hit the floor. Yeah, but at the same time, you know, it is something that we do need to be aware of. We do need to be a little bit conscious of. Not to mention that he's playing a game of catch with a stapler while he's
Yeah,
in this
well,
position as well.
if you're gonna do it
You
all
know,
wrong, you might as well, do the lot.
that's it. That's it. If you're gonna have 2 weeks off work, why not have 6 months? You know, I think that's the way that these guys in the office are going for.
May as well.
Definitely, yeah. I think everybody is just trying to maybe get themselves a little bit of time off. Maybe that's it. Maybe that's the biggest health and safety problem on there as well. That everybody's overworked and just needs a bit of a break. You know. What else have we got then? What else have we got? So just looking at this area over on the right hand side, we've got a bloke who's desperately trying to do his work. He's trying to meet the deadlines, but he's just got the sun in his eyes. You know, he's going to be squinting at the screen. You know, he's potentially going to be overheating as well. I don't know if you've ever been in that position, you know, where sort of like even when the office window's open, you sat there and you're in the one beam of light, you know, you're squinting away at the screen and you're just absolutely roasting.
Yeah.
You know, it's really off-putting and yeah, of course, you know, potentially sort of dehydrating, especially while you're trying to work. You know, and again, thinking about eye strain and stuff like that as well, you know, trying to look at the screen all day in the blaring sun. You know, we've all been outside and tried to take a picture on your phone and you can't even see what you're taking a picture of. And, you know, or you go to look at the picture that you've just taken and you can't even see it just because of how bright the sun is. It is a lot of strain on your eyes. So of course, we've got to think about that as well. I think the only guy who's not doing anything wrong in this picture is this guy who's with his little goatee just in the middle in the middle of the game of catch. Yeah, you know, maybe he's the example that we should be following. He's just got a little smile on his face. And he's not got his feet up on the desk. He's having no part in the hijinks that is a game of toss with the stapler.
He's definitely playing with a lighter, or like he's got a switchblade or something.
Yeah, that's it. You know,
too normal.
That's it. Either that, or he's the guy who has jammed all of these sockets into all of these plugs into the socket underneath the desk, and he's just sitting there playing innocent. Definitely. You know, overloading sockets is something that we've got to think about, especially if we are working around electronics. Even in the home, to be honest, you know, that's something that I've had to be conscious about. Have I got the laptop plugged in and my phone charger so I can do everything that I need to do, you know, while Alex is on her laptop doing her work, you know, or she's watching something, or, you know, we've maybe got the telly on for a bit of music for the background, for in the background for the dog or whatever it is.
Yeah.
You know, it is easy, especially while we're working from home or while we've being at home. But again, in any sort of, especially in office space where there's a lot of electronics, we've got to think about making sure that we're not overloading our sockets and stuff, because it's just sort of going to increase the likelihood of fires. And we can see on the left hand side of the picture, that we're not in the best position to be prepared for a fire. So prevention's better than is better than cure. So making sure that we don't have a fire in the first place would always be the first step. The last thing that I can sort of pick out on that picture is the bloke on the right hand side, who is just doing too much heavy lifting by himself. Offices I've been in before, I'm not sure whether we get to the point in the office at Savvy Towers where we need to think about it, but you can get like little dolly trolleys, can't you, where you've got to put
Lisa's got one for our laptops and stuff.
Does she? Yeah, of course, yeah, for just moving all the laptops around, stuff like that, so she's not carrying them. Fortunately, a lot of our paperwork is digital and it's online, and not a lot of it's physical copy, but at the same time, if we were dealing with that, we've got to be thinking about moving all that paperwork around safely and stuff like that. We see it especially a lot in sort of when it comes to an accounting or the accounting industry or financial industry, where there's a lot of reports going on. Certainly when it comes to, again, any sort of office where we're getting a lot of paperwork, you might get a lot of like I say, it's really easy to do a lot of heavy lifting. He's doing the blokes approach, isn't he? He's doing the whole, I'm going to do it all in one trip or not at all. We've all done it coming out of the supermarket. Like, no, I'm going to get all of these bags in one, especially from the car to the house. It's just load me up. I'm going to carry it. It's not always the best option, and we've got to think about how we're actually carrying that weight as well. And of course, some of that comes with if you're working in an environment that's going to require it, you need to make sure that you're getting manual lifting training as well, and making sure that we're lifting things properly. It was the first thing that they put us through when I joined Argos, to be honest, because part of the job, I reckon, like 1 out of the 4 jobs that I could be doing like shift to shift was in the stock room, going and picking an item. It might be in the bottom shelf. I've got to make sure I'm lifting it safely. It might be on the top shelf. I've got to make sure I'm getting the ladders and using the ladders safely as well, and of course making sure that the area is safe for that. There'd be a lot of questions asked, if you went to get a heavy microwave, because they are heavier than they look, and they were on the top bay, and you've got to get them from a ladder. Do you know what I mean? It might make sense to say, well, can we not have these located somewhere where I can just go and pick them up a little bit easier, rather than at the top of something that's got wheels on it? Having just talked about the office desk chair and stuff, the ladders can help, but we've got to think about how we've got stuff stored as well, and the organization of the environment. What used to get me, mate, was when we used to get someone would come and they would buy like a dumbbell set, because obviously you can buy them from the likes of Argos, and you'd have, for some reason, they'd be in 3 different sections. So like the weights would be in one area, then the barbell would be in a different area, and then say even sometimes just the clips and stuff like that were in a different area as well. So you go into 3 different areas, and of course they weigh quite a lot as well. We think about weights as obviously, this is handy, this is what we want for our exercise. It's a different story when you're trying to get 100 kilograms worth of weight to the front desk and into the customer's car at the same time. At the gym, it used to get me whenever we'd have new dumbbells delivered. It'd be all right, this is going to be training in itself, getting it from the back door to where they need to be. You get to the point where you could
truck and see you later.
Yeah, that was it. You know what I mean? Yeah. And then there's me weighing sort of like 65, 70 kilograms at best, and I'm moving in these dumbbells that range from sort of 10 kilograms up to 60 kilograms themselves sometimes. There was a lot of just rolling them along the floor by the time we got to the heavier ones as well. But
definitely work smart, not hard.
Exactly, buddy, exactly. But you know what I wouldn't have given for a little trolley that I could have put them on as well. So again, depending on the environment, you might thinking about manual lifting and lifting safely, using your knees rather than your back. And then again, you might have some machinery or equipment that's going to help you out. In the factory I was in, we had like a pallet truck. you know, not pretty much a manual forklift, really. And
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Pump them up, move them about wherever they need to be. And again, we needed to make sure that we were using those safely as well. So when it comes to shifting heavy things, make sure that you're doing it as safely as possible. I guess pretty much is the takeaway there. So that's that's an office environment broken down. I'm sure if anybody came in and inspected these guys, they'd be shut down pretty much on the spot.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you know, it's all little bits of things that we need to be thinking about again, as we're moving, potentially going back to working in the office space or a work environment rather than being at home. And again, coming into the fitness environment as well. If you're joining a gym for the first time, making sure that everything's sort of safe, and you know, we're being aware of dumbbells left out on the floor, skipping ropes that you might fall over, and like we say at the minute, especially when it comes to hygiene, you know, stuff that's not getting wiped down, and making sure that we're staying on top of the stuff that we need to.
Yeah.
Okay, buddy, cool. So we'll spin on. We've got one more example to look at, and like I say, this guy, I don't know how he's still going. You know, when we talk about Darwinism and survival of the fittest and all that, but he's managing anyway. He's managing.
I'll be on the next slide. Yeah.
Next slide, buddy, mate. Yeah. So yeah, one more example to do. So I don't even know where to start with this one. The first one that always catches my eye is the cat playing in the bleach. You know, it's not the cat's fault. But again, you know, bleach on sort of living things is never really a good idea. It's never advisable. So he's got, obviously, just on the floor alone, we've got what, a pool of water on the left hand side that he could slip on. We've obviously got the cat playing in the bleach for whatever reason that he could trip on as well. Not to mention the danger to the cat. We've got a sports bag again where the handle's sort of laid out ready for somebody to trip over. Of course, probably this guy, as he's sort of walking along, it looks like he's on his phone. He looks like he's on a mobile. So he's distracted. The oven door's open, not only for him to walk into, but obscuring his view of the sports bag, and then the little puddle of water and the little pile of clothes near the washing machine as well. So he can't even see those, never mind avoid them, you know. So again, slip hazards, trip hazards. If he slips over, does he take over the boiling pans and pots that are on the stove as well? You know, the handles are sticking out on those. If he falls over and goes to grab something, or even just knock something, you know, he's
over them as well.
Yeah, there's a wire over them as well. So he's not only potentially going to knock them off and they're going to fall on him and burn his legs, or burn him if he's fallen to the floor, end up with a deep fried cat, you know, if it goes that far. But yeah, he's got an electric cable across the hob as well, you know, which is never a good idea. And we can see that it's switched on because the kettle's just boiled. You know, he's got no business making a brew at the minute. He's got enough going on that he needs to sort out first. He's a million miles away from putting his feet up and having a couple, isn't he, really? You know, so what else have we got? We've got, you know, potentially sort of lesser hazards on the right hand side. You know, we've got matches left out. We've got you what? Sorry, bud.
Top of the tins, all like spiking it.
Yeah, we've sort of used a tin opener on the tin and just left it. Again, if he slips or trips on anything, how easy is it to fall on it? You put your hand out to break your fall.
If you've ever cut yourself on a tin, you know the pain.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
I've got 2 scars on both my hands from doing it.
Really?
Yeah, just like losing my thumb, and that was into the corned beef tin, and just being like, and I think,
really,
this is lush. This just sitting there for like a second or two, like, done it again.
That's brutal. So it wasn't like Popeye where you just squeeze the tin open with like sheer willpower and masculinity, mate.
No, not that time. Not anymore, because obviously I've cut my thumbs now. So.
That's it, mate. You know, you'll be holding yourself back a little bit. And I'm pretty sure that only works with spinach as well. You know, so you'd be wasting your time with beans, anything like that, mate.
You'd be massive forearms as well.
Yeah. Definitely, yeah. You haven't done enough farmers walks in the gym, man, or
I've been sailing me tugboat. That's what it is.
That's the one, mate. Yeah, that's the one. I just saying, Gary had mentioned about his plug socket a minute ago when we were on the last one. Yeah, Gary, I imagine, you know, you've got stuff whirring away. It is just something to think about. And I know that some of them are actually designed and prepared to take more sort of voltage and more wattage, whatever the right terminology would be. I'm definitely no electrician at the end of the day, but I know some of them are better for obviously taking more. If you've got obviously like a panel or a multi-socket that'll take eight or 10 plugs, you're going to be a lot better equipped than if you've got like a 2-socket with an extension plugged into an extension plugged into an extension. That's where we're going to be ended up getting issues and stuff like that as well. But yeah, definitely. I imagine that yours is pretty stacked, guys. I really do. Okay, so just to finish up this picture before we move on, and we've talked about most of them. He's got his shoelaces untied that I've just noticed, and so again something that he can go over. He's got the old 90s chain on his bottoms as well. You know, he's maybe even so old school. He's got his wallet at the end of that chain. You know, now we're talking old school. But you know what? That's just you know. Can that get snagged on a door handle or something like that, on a drawer handle? Happens to me all the time. I'm sure you've had it yourself, guys. You know, the belt loop, you know, and if your belt loop can get caught, a chain or something like that definitely can. I've actually had it be sort of pockets, be it sort of in a jacket or something like that. And you know what? It always happens on the day that you've just not got time for it as well. When you're already having a bad day, that's when it happens. It's never just on a day where you can take it in your stride. It's always enough to just
if you've got a handful of stuff, like it's just
yeah,
this is good. I guess I'm 100%. Part of the door now.
Yeah, oh yeah. You know, this guy here will be get yourself snagged when he drops his phone and his coke at the same time. You know,
stand on the
nightmare, double whammy. Yeah, you know, so it's a world of hurt. I'm not sure what this is that we can see between the coke can and the first pan. It looks like a blade of some description.
Nice there.
You know, so that's just waiting to go.
All these ones pointing up on the left-hand side as well.
I was going to say, not to mention the ones that are in there that are in the sink, and of course the one that's just on the edge, ready to sort of topple off. And you know, probably the last big thing, we've got the toaster there. You know, the toaster. Yeah, the toaster's got the curtains in, almost the kitchen roll, and it's almost in the water as well.
Yeah,
you know,
well,
so yeah. Do you know what? Yeah,
combine all the elements.
Like we said, yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's it, definitely. Yeah, so I think pretty much everything that could be going wrong in a kitchen is going wrong for this guy right now. Yeah. You know, so he's got a lot that he's pretty oblivious to, you know, and hopefully by now we've sat and had a look through those. It's stuff that, do you know what? Again, a lot of it is common sense. But at the same time, I feel like to be able to look at an environment and be able to sort of pick out these things, you know, and like, okay, that would be a bigger risk than that. We'd need to make sure that we need to deal with this. Risk assessment itself, you know, is a huge part of a lot of jobs, and a huge responsibility. And it's not a bad skill to have at all, you know, especially when it comes to making sure that we're in a fitness environment as safely as possible as well, you know. Again, looking at, is there stuff on the floor I can trip over? Are the machines looking a little bit worn and torn, and are they rusty? You know, are the cables even sort of frayed and ready to snap mid-rep? Are they even juddery? You know, I've had some that are really sort of quite stiff, you know, which can put strain on joints in ways that it shouldn't really. So again, just making sure that the environment that we're in is safe, because at the end of the day, you know, we're doing our fitness. We've got our goals to be healthier, to be able to move better, to last longer. We don't go there to hurt ourselves and knock ourselves backwards, you know.
Like a bench, like even like a wobbly bench, or a seat on a thing. I'm like, I don't want to use that machine. I don't like it.
Oh, mate,
like, I've seen it done. It's like all over the shop, and I'm just like, what am I supposed to do? I kind of, every time I pull back, I'm moving about like 3 feet.
Yeah. The one that got me the most, the one that made me sort of like cringe the most was, there was a guy on the luckily it was a seated chest press machine.
Yeah.
So he had the handles, and the weight was on the handles. He didn't have the barbell entirely on him. And what he did, he went to press, and he got to the top of the range, and the seat hadn't quite clicked into the. And it dropped like another centimeter or two, and you think like that impact on the spine, because you drop and then you land again. You know, depending on how much weight you've got above your head, it can be really dangerous.
Yeah.
You know, any impact on the lower back. I think fun fact, bit of a tangent, but as far as I'm aware, fighter pilots, pilots in general, to be honest, I think they only get 3 ejections in their career.
Oh, good.
Because the force from the ejection seat puts so much force and pressure on the lower back and the lower vertebrae.
Yeah.
The human body can only take so many. When the truth be told, the human body can only take a couple.
Yeah.
Over a lifetime, really. And of course that's really like a really sort of extreme example of that effect on the lower back. But that wasn't anything that I'd ever thought of. But again,
controlled explosion in this. So
yes, pretty much, pretty much like when you see these daft videos of people
no, you need
sitting on airbags and setting them off.
Hang on. We might get copyright strike for this, but I'll play it without the audio on. They're talking about you've done it now. You've done it now. And so the film Die Hard, you've seen Die Hard 2, but where he's in the plane, when they start like throwing grenades at him, and then he launches out of it.
Do you know what, mate? I've got a bit of a confession to make. I've only ever seen the first 2.
Oh, mate.
And that was because my mate sat me down and made me watch them. I've never been a big Bruce Willis fan. I never had any fancy for them, but he said, mate, you've got to see the first 2. I couldn't tell you anything about the second one. I couldn't.
It's all right. It's worth a watch. You have to watch it at Christmas, though, because it's obviously renowned as a Christmas film.
I know the first one was. I didn't realise the second one was a Christmas movie as well.
Gets a couple of grenades lobbed at him, and he's like, right. And then there you go. Off he goes into the sky.
Oh man, I'm
and there he is.
Just waiting on the stream.
Just imagine the force going through your body at that point in time.
That's it, yeah.
Bruce Willis, who clearly wasn't green screen there at all. Definitely not. That was 100% legit.
That's a legit ejection. Yeah. Oh man, I'm just watching him get launched now. The stream's catching up.
Point being,
yeah,
definitely. That
ejector
seat, it basically is like a little pop.
It is, yeah. Oh, definitely, yeah. And like we say, that is, you're not going to get maybe that much force, but I tell you what, if you've got a 30-kilogram dumbbell in each hand above your head, and the seat that you're on drops an inch or 2 underneath you, your lower back's going to know about it. It really is.
How many times do you see people like when they do a bench press, they like hit themselves in the chest with a bar?
Oh, mate. I don't know whether it's like I don't know whether it's permitted in certain powerlifting and when it comes to 1 rep max and stuff like that, because obviously they're arching their back and getting their chest as high as they can, reducing the range. That's sort of allowed and permitted, isn't it? That is, I've seen powerlifters in the gym come in and arch their back like that, and the PT and me's just screaming, saying, flatten your back, flatten your back. It's like painful to stand and watch, but you know what? If that's the way that they do it, it's kind of one of them things. They're probably aware of the risks, but it helps them do what they want to do. It's no different. Ronnie Coleman chucking big weights around for his entire life, knowing full well it would potentially turn his bones to dust. And now that he's done pretty much exactly that, and his vertebrae are all fused together, I'm sure he has no regrets. But at the end of the day, we've got to think about the wear and tear on our body, because like we sort of always say, even when we're training, we're tearing muscle fibers, we're breaking the body down. It's only through the good diet and the protein and stuff like that, and the rest, and the recovery time, the body actually develops and adapts and comes back stronger, fitter, that sort of thing. We are actually sort of breaking the body down every time, every time we're training. So we need to do it safely, and we need to make sure that the load that we're putting on our body is sort of sustainable. And that's even sort of part of the reason why we could do a deload week every now and then, drop the weights down, drop the reps down, alter some exercises, rather than having what we'd call like a strict rest week. You can actually give your body a chance to recover and avoid a lot of injuries that way as well. So yeah, that's just something to think about. Okay then. So if we can spin on to the next slide, please, buddy. We're gonna bring this back around to the fitness environment a little bit more. Talking about hazards or potential hazards in the fitness environment. We've talked about some of them. We've got a couple of different ones on there as well. We've got water spillages from water bottles or from sweat, that sort of thing. Mate, you know that 2 litre water bottle that I think you've got one now as well. Yeah, I had one myself, mate. I've seen a bloke come in, start his warm up on the treadmill and drop a full one of them on the treadmill and just poof. That was it, mate. Oh, it was like being at SeaWorld, where you need to be in the splash zone.
Yeah.
That's what it was like. The treadmills either side of him were written off for the rest of the day. The treadmill that he was on was written off for the week. Do you know what? I can't remember how long it did take that to get it fixed. And that was just on the machine itself. Not to mention if you're in a gym that's got like a wooden floor or rubber matting or something like that, where you might not see it quite as obviously. It's really easy to miss these things and sort of trip on them or slip on them in this sort of case. While we're running,
doing like a big circuit or whatever, like a functional fitness class or whatever, where it's like you get no rest basically. Like you're sweating a lot.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. And then like you see, if you're putting in there like shuttles and sprints and burpees and that sort of thing, it's all too easy for your feet to sort of not get the grip underneath you that you're expecting them to. So yeah, just be sort of aware of definitely what's on the floor around you before you start doing most stuff, to be honest. Sweat sort of ties in with the next one where we're looking at client and staff hygiene as well, especially coming around to the COVID sort of thing, the old elephant in the room at the minute. It's something that we do need to be aware of. It is something that we need to be really sort of conscious of the whole time. We're in a fitness environment and in an environment where we can be affecting other people, and maybe our behaviours are going to affect other people a little bit more. And of course we should always be doing it to keep ourselves safe as well. Beyond that, we've got basic sort of hygiene stuff. Have we got maybe clients or staff over the years, that maybe's got a little bit of a smell about them, a little bit of an odor about them. We've got to think about that personal hygiene as well. And like we say, at the minute, we're wiping our hands and washing our hands and wiping stuff down before we move on. A big one that I always sort of really focused on was incorrect sort of lifting. Which more often than not actually left me in a position of, or certainly a couple of times, like when you go over to somebody and try to say to them, it's difficult to go over to somebody and say, you're doing that wrong, let me show you the right way to do it, without saying you're doing that wrong sort of thing. I used to go over with the approach of saying, oh, do you know what, have you thought about if you actually flatten your back a little bit when it comes to deadlifts and stuff like that, if you flatten your back a little bit more, you're going to engage them back muscles, rather than saying to them, oh, you're doing that wrong, you're going to throw your back out that way. Because I tried that once upon a time, and it was a big lad who was obviously bigger than me. He said, this is the way I've done it for 10 years, I'll be fine. I'm like, okay, I tried sort of thing. It was always something that I would go over and say to people, look, like, have you tried using it this way? Have you tried doing it this way? Do it this way, and you'll actually get more out of you'll be able to get more weight on the bar. That was the way I used to do it. Eventually I'd learn from the psychological point of view, the way over to say to people, I'll say, do you know what, if you really pull your shoulder blades back, push your chest out, drop your hips a little bit more, we might be able to get another 5 or 10 kilograms onto your personal best. All of a sudden technique's a lot more important and you know what, that's absolutely mind-blowing. The thought of getting a new personal best will make people think about the technique, but the thought of slipping a disc and potentially paralysing yourself from the waist down isn't enough.
No pain, no gain, man. Remember,
that's it. It's a very dangerous mantra, and it's got to be it's got to be the right sort of pain, you know. And when you feel the wrong sort of pain, you're going to know the wrong sort of pain. More often than not, the right sort of pain you're going to feel the next day and the day after that through your DOMs. You know, if it's hurting there and then, and it's hurting, like not uncomfortable, it's hurting and painful, you should probably stop. You know, that would always be my advice, you know, because at the end of the day, it was like, yes, it might be your legs day. You might be wanting to work your quads. If you start doing squats and your knee hurts, it would be irresponsible of me to say, right, let's push through and do another 9 sets of squats because we're doing German volume training or something like that. It'd be much more realistic for me to say, okay, let's get ourselves on the leg press where we can change our feet positioning a little bit more, find something that's comfortable, or get on the leg extension and isolate them quads a little bit more and take some of the strain off the knee as well. You know, there's always different ways you can do it. We shouldn't necessarily train through a range, through an injury. Just find a different range, find a different load, find a different resistance. and find a way to do it without the pain as well.
Yeah.
It's one of them things, you know what I mean? Because obviously that's kind of something that I've always had as a responsibility over the years. To go and let people know that they could be doing something that's going to hurt themselves. Where do you find yourself in that position, buddy? You know, if you're in the gym and you see somebody that's doing something absolutely outrageous that's gonna wreck them, would you feel like you should? Would you go say anything? Would you sort of keep your distance and keep yourself to yourself and keep your headphones in? You know,
Depends how bad it is.
Yes, of course. I like to say that there's absolutely no right or wrong answer. I think we all deal differently with it, you know. Like I say, it's something that I've just kind of always had to do, and it's always been habit. You know, and it just interesting to see where from a gym member's point of view, as obviously you would be, and the guys at home probably would be, in a fitness environment. You know, would you? Obviously, the more you do it, the more experience you get, the more you can identify incorrect sort of lifting and bad lifting and stuff like that. And sometimes, you know, a little bit of time with a personal trainer or doing stuff in a supervised class can help you work on your own sort of techniques, you know. But
I think the staff in the gym are pretty good, so I probably wouldn't have to. But in the past, when I've been in like a smaller gym where you get to know people a bit more, I'm like, how come I normally would say something, how come you're doing it like that? I wouldn't be like, that's wrong. I'd be like, oh, why are you doing it like that? Like there was a lad who always used to do the shoulder press, but he'd do it with like 1 foot behind him, and I'm like, I was basically saying what you're doing.
Yeah. Oh,
But he was like,
pretty
oh, this
much.
is just how I was shown how to do it, and I was like, well, I don't know about. I'd try it this way and see what you think.
Yeah. Well, yeah, definitely. You know, sometimes you'll go to them and say, why are you doing it that way? And they'll have a perfectly good reason.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? They will do, you know, be it, like I had somebody come up to me in the gym once and say, you're doing lunges wrong. I was like, okay, what makes you say that? And he said, oh, well, your stance needs to be a little bit wider, you know, to really bring in your lateral, like, part of your glutes and stuff like that. And I said, well, what I'm actually doing is keeping my stance narrow, so that I'm having to work harder to balance. And he was like, oh, okay, then I hadn't really thought about it that way. And I caught him doing them like that later on. But I was like, do you know what? I didn't take offense to it or anything like that. The one time I did take a little bit of offense to it and did get a little bit defensive, and it pretty much shut the guy down. I was with a client and I was getting her to do a narrow grip bench press.
Okay.
So she's got dumbbells, one in each hand, and as she's coming down, they're really, really sort of close in. Elbows even nipped into the side, and she's driving.
Press sort of thing.
Yeah, definitely. And some guy went over and went, "Oh, I'm a qualified personal trainer. What are you doing them that way for? Yeah, that's totally wrong. You need to bring them out wider." Mate, he came over and got hold of her wrists mid-set and pulled them wider and went, "There you go. That's the way for your chest." Great. And I'd only been PT in a couple of months. And I was like, well, actually, she's trying to work a triceps, not a pec. It's a tricep press, you know. We've done we've done the pecs already. If you'd paid attention to that previous half an hour of the session, you'd see that we've done press ups and the seated chest press and stuff like that. Now, you're potentially putting a weight through her chest that I would say is too heavy, given how much volume's already been put through it. You've
actually not warmed that, not done that exercise yet either.
Yeah, definitely. You know, that's potentially more dangerous. Yeah, pulling out nice and wide. You know, saying that that's potentially it could be potentially more dangerous. So, you know, when it comes to lifting techniques, there's always going to be a difference of opinion. You know, but you know, there's got to be a way to justify the way that you're doing it. If it's deviating from the norm, do you know what I mean? If you're doing a deadlift and your back looks like your back looks like a lowercase m, you know, you're gonna have issues. Yeah, you really are gonna have issues. And do you know what? I haven't found any justification for doing them that way that's ever sort of flown with me. You know,
I don't know how people do it. I don't know how people do when the back's like this. I don't know how they do anything when the back's like the opposite. It should be curved inwards and they curve it outwards. And I'm like, how do you even move like that?
Yeah. And to think that's a good idea and that the body's meant to take it that way. And like, do you know what as well, mate? It's usually the heavy exercises. You don't see people doing it with a bicep curl with a 5 in each hand. You see them doing it with a deadlift with like 150k on the bar, and you're like,
I just don't understand how they can complete that movement. My body wouldn't do it. Like it physically wouldn't move. If I try to lift anything like bent hunched over,
Yeah.
I couldn't move the bar. Like it just wouldn't. I wouldn't be able to pick it off the floor.
Definitely. And you know what, mate? that's not the worst thing in the world, because it's a way of keeping yourself injury free. And do you know what, mate? It was something that I always was so conscious about when I was training myself, because of course everybody in the gym knows that you're a PT. They're looking at your form and they're seeing what you're doing.
Yeah.
So I was always conscious about training to failure and training on the heavy side, because obviously I always wanted to be showing good form, and to show that I knew good form as well. So that was something that I always had to think about. But yeah, whenever in the gym, we're thinking about proper lifting techniques, and more often than not, if we're using a resistance machine, it's going to have a little description on the side of the machine to show you how to use it, and how we can use it safely, and make sure that we're not going to hurt ourselves. Weights lying around the gym floor and loose carpet are pretty much in the same sort of vein as in like sort of trip hazard stuff that you might fall over. I've done it before where I've been bringing weights to a client and I've got a 20 kilogram plate in each hand. And you know what? Like I've stubbed my foot on like a resistance machine on the way past. And when people are running and they get too top heavy and they start doing the stumble, and they're trying to get the feet back underneath them. I've done that before, just because obviously the weight of the plates has gone. It might be a kettlebell that was left in the way, and it's easy to sort of trip over. And again, if you're moving around the gym with weights, it's going to cause more problems when you do fall over. Again, falling over by itself is enough,
People just throwing them as well, like when they're done with the set, they just like let go of them, and they go like 10 miles away from where they were. And it's like, what are you doing?
Yeah. At the end of circuits, when they'll put the dumbbells down and let them roll off. So like the next person gets to that station and they're meant to do a bicep curl and there's no kit there for them to do it. Exactly like you just mentioned a second ago, buddy, people just dropping a load of weight. We used to have a couple come in the gym that I used to work at in Aycliffe that would put 60 kilogram barbell on their back, do lunges up and down the gym, and then decide it was too heavy and they just had to roll it off.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Unless 60 kilogram barbell slam off the floor.
If you've got a lifting platform, which is like the cushioned like flooring, where you can literally drop the bar and it'll just sort of like bounce down, but you can't be just like throwing dumbbells all over the shop. And
That's it. That couple in question actually dropped, I think it was the 40 preloaded barbell. So we had these barbells that like you didn't change the weights, it was just a 10 or 20. They actually dropped the 40 and snapped it clean and off. So it was like, I was like, all right, you know what, that's just great. Now nobody can use a 40. People's got to make the choice of a 30 or a 50. And a 20 kilogram jump, it's nearly double. Do you know what I mean? It's a hell of a jump. When it comes to certain exercises, especially isolations, bicep curls, like skull crushers, like that sort of thing. So it's not just dangerous in the sense that it can bounce and hurt somebody, but it's a little bit inconsiderate as well. You're damaging the equipment. Somebody's got to pay to fix them. Somebody's got to pay to put the weights away that you've left lying around, especially at the end of the day. That used to be one of the things that used to get me. At 8 o'clock, we used to shut the gym at 8:30. 8 o'clock, I'd need to be on the gym floor putting weights away and stripping machines off and getting them onto the right racks and stuff like that. I think I've mentioned before, the same couple actually, now I think about it, I've watched them finish a set on the Smith's machine, 60 kilograms, so 320 plates either side. I've watched them spend 5 minutes like pretending to talk and looking around the gym to see if anybody's watching, and then they'll just walk off and leave it. I'm like, mate, you know what? That would have taken 30 seconds to just actually do the thing, and then you could have left. But again, when it comes to that safety point of view, something that it's maybe not the most obvious thing that jumps up, and it's only because I've come across it so much through PT. And if you leave a machine totally loaded up and someone comes along who can't manage that much weight, they might not be able to use that machine at all. We used to have have you seen like a hex bar for a deadlift? Yeah. It's kind of like a hexagon. Yeah. And you stand in the middle with the bar around you. Yeah, trap bar, that you might have heard them called, we used to have one of them that I used to use quite a lot for unweighted deadlifts. Yeah. Or like we had maybe prop something up either end to give the bar a little bit of height. And then do just sort of like the movement for a deadlift for people with poor lower back mobility,
It's still 20 kilo in it, I think.
Tight hamstrings. Well, some of them, depending on.
Still get a weighted one.
depending on the weight itself and where it's come from and what make it is. And I used to obviously do the session with her. And then I would write everything down and say, look, before I see you next week, try and do this session another once or twice. So I knew that everything that she was doing by herself, she'd already done with me. So her form was pretty good.
Yeah.
And she would actually have to come to me when I was trying to do other bits. Do you know what I mean? Hoovering the gym, wiping stuff down. Maybe he's with another client. Maybe he's doing an induction or signing somebody up and say, Rob, I'm really sorry, but that bit of kit that I kind of need for today's session, someone's left like 100 kilograms worth of weight on, and I'm trying to use it because I've got a bad back.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I can't stand there and be ripping 20 kilogram plates off barbells and stuff like that. You know, so again, it's being considerate with the gym users and stuff like that. But there's the safety side of things as well, you know, because some people, you know, if she'd have come in and gone to use a bit of kit that was in that state and being left loaded up, and she didn't have the rapport with me to feel comfortable coming and asking, you know, she might have tried to do that herself and done herself a little bit of a mischief and maybe thrown her back out or whatever and knocked herself back 6 months, because like I say, that was why I was working with her, trying to work on her lower back strength and mobility and stuff like that. And there's plenty in the gym that can knock you backwards, you know.
I think even at home though, like if you don't leave your kit lying around, if you're working out at home, like
it's everything, yeah.
You know, if you've got your resistance bands, if you've got dumbbells, if you've got kettlebells, whatever it is, if you leave them lying around, I can guarantee you will stub your toe on them at some point, or you'll trip over them, or they'll get broken. That's the other thing. Like if you've just got the plastic ones that are like filled with sand or whatever, like if you drop something on them or if you kick them off something, they'll break and all the insides of them will start coming out. Yeah. And then you haven't got any dumbbells anymore. So
your 10 kilogram plate actually weighs 2.
Aye.
And you look really strong. Yeah, you end up looking really strong.
Until the plastic all falls away, you've got with a pile of sand. And then,
yeah, definitely. Until you got to chuck the bar down and it just floats to the floor like a feather. Yeah, 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 definitely. And then fire exits and stuff like that was something that we always needed to sort of drill into gym members and stuff like that. But sort of just before we move on to that, coming back to what you said a second ago, buddy, about making sure that all your kit's away. Just while I remember, you know, this room that I live streaming, obviously I've got all my kit behind me, but this is the room that I exercise in. If I'm going to be doing some stuff in the house, so I need to make sure that not only is my weight and resistance stuff away and I'm not going to trip over it, but I need all my work stuff away. You know, coming back to just analysing the environment overall, it would make no sense for the laptop to still be out. I'd maybe trip over a wire doing burpees, that sort of thing, you know. You can say obviously
on it, you know, you could do out.
Definitely, you know, we've got guitars in here, we've got the drum kit, so it's making sure that it's all out the way and secured and over to one side. And then again, even when it is just set up purely for exercise, I need to make sure that, you know, I'm not going to trip over a resistance band and fall through the drum kit, you know. As comical as that might be to maybe catch on the camera if I was filming to do a media savvy video, it's definitely not ideal. So again, just making sure that the environment's set up for what you need it to be. And if your environment is sort of multi-use, again, while we're working at home, we need to make sure that we've got all the right stuff away and all the right stuff sort of out and available.
And you're not going to hurt yourself, especially if you're training you know, if you're training by yourself as well, and you fall over and bang your head, you're on your own. Like so
exactly. Well, I mean, what's the one thing that we've tried to do over the last year? You know, if not avoid trips to A&E and to put extra strain on the NHS because, you know, you were trying to do like double unders in the bedroom. Do you know what I mean? Where you're skipping rope and you've tripped and gone over and cracked your head on the bedside table or something like that. You know, you're going to feel a little bit daft on your way to A&E when nurses are saying, do you know what? I could be vaccinating somebody right now. You know, not to say that stay away from A&E if you really do need it. But I think, of course, that's something that we've all been conscious of over the last year or so. The amount of parents that I've heard say to kids and toddlers and infants, do you know what? Like, don't do that. We can't. We don't want to go. We don't want to go to the doctors at the minute.
Don't waste time.
And it's right, mate. Yeah, exactly, exactly. Okay, and then we've got the just the last one that's probably worth mentioning that I can think of. Again, you know, before we sort of see if you guys in the chat have maybe thought of anything else. Fire exits, you know, making sure that fire exits are blocked. I've seen PTs over the years actually use fire escape stairwells. for training, you know, be it shuttle runs up and down them, be it carrying dumbbells up and down them, and for like farmers walks, the cardio sort of thing, squat jumps on and off the bottom step. And you think like if that person's out there doing that, and the fire alarm goes off, everybody's just going to try and pile out that door, aren't they? The last thing you want out there are sandbags, medicine balls, kettlebells, dumbbells. That's people's access to get out of the building if the main stairway is blocked or whatever, you know. Again, do you have is there an assembly point for everybody to get together? Do people know the assembly point? And again, just making sure that we can actually get to these fire exits. They're not locked for a start, you know. That was something that there used to be one lad that if he used to open up the gym, I knew that if I was coming into the afternoon to take over, the first thing I'd used to go and check the fire door, because chances are he'd have forgot to do it. Do you know what I mean? So like the fire door not getting unlocked till 12 in the afternoon when the gym's been open 5 hours, it's like it's just no good at all. So we need to make sure the fire exits are not blocked, not locked, and accessible to everybody, and people know that obviously the procedure and where to go as well. You know. If you know there's going to be a fire drill, can you give people a little bit of a heads up so they're a little bit more calm leaving the gym as well? You know, so yeah, there's a lot to be said for making sure that we know our way out of the building and what to do in the event of a fire. 100%.
I think that's one thing that you'll have to be aware of joining gyms as well, because I know the induction I did for mine was online, and if you know you think you do it, you just click through. You're like, I don't care, man. I'm not bothered. I do it all the time with stuff like that. Like to me, I'm
terms and conditions.
Oh yeah, sure, yep. Right, sound that can go. Like
there
that's
you go, the gym now.
Just, you know, maybe take the time when you're there to make sure you know like where the emergency exit is, where like the toilet, like the normal stuff that you would do on an induction. Make sure you know it, and if you don't, just ask a member of staff.
Exactly.
Or look it up. Like the gym I've joined's got an app. Not all of them will have an app, but they'll have a website, a Facebook page, a member of staff, a poster on the wall. There'll be something there telling you what to do.
Yeah, definitely. As well as just some of the overall sort of procedures and protocols for the gym in itself as well. Yeah.
They'll have a big poster up about the COVID-19 things, definitely, because I think they legally have to. Like what you have to do, wearing a mask and when you need to have it on and all that. I think that's like, maybe it's not a legal requirement, it's probably like advised. Have your policy up there, and they've got all like the 2 meter signs and stuff, but they've also got like the fire I can't remember what it's called, like it's the little thing on the wall and it tells you like where the assembly point is, and
like an evacuation plan, isn't it, sort of thing? Like
all that stuff as well, and like how to report an emergency and stuff. All that stuff it'll be somewhere in the gym, probably at the front desk if it's got a front desk.
Definitely. Yeah, that's a really good point, buddy. You know, making sure that we're just aware of sort of like the procedures and the policies of whatever area we are training in.
And I think tell them as well, because I've known people, I've had mates who've dropped, and I one lad, a very good friend of mine, dropped a dumbbell on his head, didn't tell the gym owner, just dropped it on his head, was bleeding, put his like hoodie against his head and went to the hospital.
Really?
And just didn't say out to the.
Didn't tell the gym, so
didn't tell the
in
staff,
the accident
book. Didn't tell anyone. Was just like, I'm gone. And I think he was too embarrassed. Didn't think he wanted to say it because he was doing like overhead press and he just slipped out of his hand and just like cracked on the back of the head, and that was it.
Yeah, you'd feel a little bit daft, like, wouldn't you? Yeah.
So he just died. He didn't bother telling anyone.
Yeah. Oh man. Do you know what?
Champion.
Yeah, that's just reminded us of I think I've mentioned to you before that lad who took all the weight off one end of the barbell and had 80 kilograms on the other end, mate. It popped up like I've never seen a bar move so quick. It popped up, mate. It was on the rack, so it popped up. It hit him there. It nearly took his eye out. And he was. I never saw him again. He was that embarrassed. I never saw him again after that. And it wouldn't surprise me if he just left without telling the game. But luckily, I'd caught it because, of course, the nature of that is the end that's going to pop up is the end that's nearest you, because that's the end that you've just taken the weight off. So yeah, you really do want to be out the way with that. So that's something that I definitely mention. You know, when we're thinking about can we think about any more, making sure that we're moving the weights around safely and appropriately. You know, you can probably with most bars, because most bars weigh 20 kilograms themselves. You can tend to get away with like a 20 kilogram discrepancy on either end. you know. But if you take a 20 kilogram off this end, you want to get around the other end and get the 20 off the other side next, rather than pulling the rest of the weight off this side, you know, because it is just going to fly up and try and hit you. And so again, just making sure that we're using the weights safely, loading them on and taking them off safely as well.
Yeah.
You know, I seen a video not long ago, and again, I'm not sure if it was put on and if it was fake or what, but there was this lad who he just finished his set on the squat rack. He just put the bar back and he was having a minute. He was on his phone, and another lad comes along looking for like a 10 kilogram plate.
Yeah.
He's like, where's it? You know when you're just looking for a weight that you can't find. He's like, where's all the 10s at? And he notices on this bar and doesn't realize that the lad's going to be using them. So he takes a 10 off one end of this lad's weighted squat bar. The other goes on, cracks on with whatever he's going to do. The other lad picks the bar up, gets underneath it for his next set, and just topples straight over to one side, just because he's just not prepared for the weight distribution.
Yeah.
And like I say, just pulled him to one side. So again, just be careful where you're taking your weights from and where you're putting your weights back. That was something that I actually did to a couple of people over the years, purely by accident. They would be sort of in the middle of a set. It was always on machines. It was never on like a barbell like that.
Yeah.
But if they were on the seated chest press, you know, and then they'd sort of stood up in between sets and they were talking to somebody at the next machine, I'm like, are you done? Are you not? I don't really want to interrupt.
Yeah.
I'd just take a plate off and I'd be away. Like, I'd be way down the other end of the gym. Like, nah, my client needs this. I'm off. And of course, if they say I'm using that, it's like, fair play. But if you're gonna spend 10 minutes between every set stood gassing to the person next to you, and I can't find the weights anywhere else, I'm soon going to be trying to. I'm soon going to be trying to get them off you, definitely. Well, yeah, 100%. Okay, buddy. Let's spin on to the next page then, which sort of links in with something that you mentioned a minute ago, and it's pretty much the reason why we don't or shouldn't just click through an induction and say, yeah, I'm done. Just let me join. You know, get all the terms and conditions signed off, because there are a lot of benefits to the gym. And instructors and member of staff being aware of you, your needs, your goals, limitations, and can actually help, like I say, guide you a little bit more and help you get the most out of your time, and certainly in a gym environment, get the most out of your money as well. You know, so why do we think that or why are some of these things so important to make sure that other people know? So injuries is a massive one, and injuries was always the first sort of question that I would be asking, kind of because that was the nature of the work I ended up doing. I sort of, you know, they say sort of realize who your audience is, know your market is, sort of thing. Or when I started PT and I was training everybody doing all sorts, a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
And eventually I ended up doing more work with people where we were working around injuries. You know, we were trying to make sure that we were working as much as possible and as effective as possible with a shoulder impingement or a bad rotator cuff. And to an extent, you know, sometimes helping strengthen those muscles again. You know, I can't really say rehab or physio because that's a different qualification in itself. I was never qualified to do that. But the knowledge and the research that I would always go away would be to do with working with certain conditions, you know, exercising with certain conditions, be it chronic fatigue, be it cystic fibrosis, be it ADHD. You know what I mean? They all come with different sort of stuff that we've got to be aware of. You know, ADHD wasn't one that I'd really thought about as something of, do you know what, I need to consider this. I need to watch this guy and really sort of make sure he knows what he's doing. And then I think I've mentioned to you before, you know, he was the guy that on the Smiths machine got to the end at the top of the rep and then decided he was done with that and let go. And he was like, okay, what we doing next? I'm like, no, mate, you've got to latch that bar back onto something. And if I hadn't been so quick to dive in and catch it, he would have dropped the bar on his chest. Now, luckily, there wasn't a load of weight on it. But again, you know, that is just something to be aware of. If somebody's going to get halfway through a repetition and, you know, there's something on the other side of the gym is going to catch their attention, you've got to be aware of what sort of exercises you're getting them to do. And again, when it comes back down to injuries, poor mobility, you know, bad knees, bad hips, bad ankles, you know, we can an instructor can actually stop you making those worse and help you get more out of your time in the gym at the same time as well. You know, it's looking at different barriers and finding the route through rather than saying, oh, my knee hurts, but I'm going to do these anyway because Men's Fitness magazine said Arnie did squats and won 7 Mr. Olympias, so I have to do front-loaded barbell squats, even though you don't have the shoulder mobility or the hip mobility or whatever it's going to be, you know. So more often than not, a fitness instructor can help you, like I say, get more out of your training and stop you making things worse at the same time. Dislike a certain exercise is a bit of a strange one because, you know, the first thing I would always say to people would be, look, you're not going to enjoy all of this. Do you know what I mean? Like it's not all going to be enjoyable, but at the same time, you know, that's part of the process. If I can make sure that you're given tough exercises that you like more than others, you're going to apply yourself a little bit more, aren't you? Do you know what? Like, it would be exactly the same as if I'm going to say to somebody, right, we're going to do some high intensity interval training at the end of this session. You know, we're going to do 30 seconds on, 15 seconds rest for 5 minutes. If I know that person hates cycling, it would be counterproductive for me to say, right, we're going to do this on a bike. You know, I can get the same cardiovascular effect through shuttle runs, treadmill sprints, little short bursts on the Stairmaster, that sort of thing, prowler pushes, the cardio sort of rower machine. It would be daft for me to say, oh, what, that one machine that I know that you absolutely hate, yeah, we're going to go and use
for
that.
40 minutes, yeah.
Yeah, you know, yeah, we're doing, yeah, I'm going to make sure that, you know, your cardio at the end of the session that you do for half an hour is going to be on this that you absolutely hate. It's just, again, it's counterproductive. It's going to demotivate, and it's not getting the most out of people, again, which is, you know, what a fitness instructor should be there to do. You know, they should be there to help people excel and hit their goals, ideally in the shortest time frame possible, and as long as it's safe. You know, fast isn't always the best way, but structured and efficient, you know, should always be the aim. You know, if you get into the gym without a plan and start going, what we're going to do today, and start dithering from machine to machine, you could be there an hour and a half, and you could have wasted an hour and a half of your night, really. You know, if you've got a plan and you can go in and say, okay, I'm going to structure my training a little bit more, you might be done in 40 minutes. You know, so again, a little bit of structure can actually buy you sort of time outside of the gym, or buy you extra time in the gym to do other bits.
Definitely use your time wisely.
Yeah. Too hard and too easy are something that I was always sort of trying to check in on and trying to get live feedback on. You know, do you need to make stuff a little bit easier so people aren't going to, again, hurt themselves or, you know, become demotivated in, oh, I can't do this. Do you know what I mean? And at the same time, it is always easy. It was always helpful to be able to look and say, oh, do you know what? Like, someone's finding that too easy, or they're finding it too hard. Do you know what I mean? If it's too easy and they just feel like they're wasting their time, again, they're wasting their money. They've maybe paid for a fitness class, or they've paid for some personal training. If it's too easy, they're not getting value, you know, for time or for money, really, you know. So we've got to be able to say, look, we're going to make it a little bit more challenging, be that adding reps, adding weight, taking away rest time, changing the range, adding a second exercise afterwards. There's loads of different ways we can do it. So again, making sure that we can always just be at the right level for what that person is, because, you know, I've had people over the years say to me, oh, I'm not fit enough for personal training. I'm going to do 6 months in the gym and get myself fit, and I'll start PT. I'm like, that's kind of the opposite of personal training. The aim of personal training is to come to your level and then raise you just a little bit, so you're always sort of pushing and trying to challenge. You'd be better off doing the first part of your training with a trainer to get good technique, learn new exercises, learn your structure, get some session plans out of it, and then say, do you know what, now I'm going to do my own thing and really push myself. Of course, it's a confidence thing, and thinking, oh, do you know what, a personal trainer would just show me up or make me feel even worse about myself than I already do. Do you know what, that's kind of a bad PT. You know, it sort of pains me to say it, because I've worked with some really good PTs over the years, you know, and I don't really have many that I could hold up as an example and say that this would be sort of like bad PTing. But again, if I'm not trying to work at your level and I'm trying to say, right, you're just going to do whatever I tell you to do, it doesn't do me any favors. It doesn't do the client any favors. Won't drop any names, but there was a lad that I used to work with who, he sold himself as a PT, but his marketing approach was to sell himself as a course. So like Insanity. Yeah. So we'd be like, okay, this is session 1, week 1. This is session 2, week 1. So for everybody, they'd be turning up and doing the same thing. So it would get to the point where I'd see him on the gym floor and be like, "Oh, that person's on week 4, session 3 because I've seen him do this into that, and then followed by that countless times by now." You'd have a lad my age, 21, 22 at the time, coming in and doing a workout, and then we'd have sort of Doris, 50, 60-year-old later on coming in at tea time doing exactly the same thing. Prowler pushes on the sleds up and down, that sort of thing, and that's not personalized at all. You're just doing a program. Then you're following a choreographed fitness class like Insanity, but you're paying for the privilege of doing it one-on-one, really. And it's not tailored to you at all.
I mean, I suppose it depends, doesn't it? There's a fine line between like pushing someone, because I know loads of people who'll say, "Oh, I'm getting PT or I'm going to get in shape and that," and then they go and, like, not to be disrespectful, but they're not into it. They're not really doing anything. Like, and those are the people that I think need to be pushed, but like by maybe I wouldn't say it was a PT at that point. They're more of a coach then. Do you know what I mean?
Usually,
like you need coaching. You need to be shouted at basically to do
yes,
this.
yeah.
Someone's gonna have to be with you every single exercise and be like, you need to pick the pace up here.
Yeah.
Or you're not doing enough. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Oh, man, definitely.
You're doing your exercises, but it's taking you 3 hours. When really, if you did it in an hour, you'd feel better. You'd get more benefit out of it. Like, you're dragging your heels. Stop it.
Definitely. You're wasting your own time and your own money, really, aren't you?
And it's a shame because, like, the they're nice people and that, but they just haven't got that spark to do it.
That's it. It's that drive. Do you know what, mate? There is something built into some people where they just don't like to sweat. Do you know what I mean? It's an uncomfortable feeling. It's not it's not like my favourite state to be in. Do you know what I mean? If you are a little bit of a sweaty mess, but I tell you what, mate, I had one woman once upon a time turned up for her first PT session, totally fine, like middle-aged woman, asked if she could take the lift up to the gym floor. I'm like, why is there an injury or something that I need to know about? Have you got bad ankles, bad hips? No, I was just going to go in the lift. I'm like, well, you're not. Well, you're not. Do you know what? If we get to the top of the stairs after the session and your legs are going to buckle, I'll put you in the lift and I'll bring you back down in the lift. But there's no way you're going up to your first gym session with me in the lift.
Yeah.
You're not doing it.
But there's a fine line between that, I suppose, and like going too far and, like, making people feel worse. So it's a tightrope, I think.
That's it. Yeah, definitely. And do you know what, mate? I found that being a PT over the years, the knowledge was always really important. But being able to relay that knowledge to people was always what sort of made it or break, like was make or break. All the best PTs I've ever worked with, and pretty much the ones that stuck it out throughout the duration that I did it, were knowledgeable, but they had the people skills as well. You've got to be able to push someone and motivate someone, and sometimes be a little bit critical of somebody in a motivational way and not in a disheartening sort of way that's going to knock the wind out of the sails.
You need that David Goggins energy.
Yeah.
No quitting.
That's it. Yeah, it's just a little bit of diplomacy as well, isn't it?
It helps to do stuff with other people as well, which you've got the benefit of doing now.
Of course it does.
You can train with a partner. You can, train. There's other people in the gym that can spot you. You can go for a run with someone. It's always a bit easier. Like, even if they're slightly above your level or you're slightly above theirs, like, every session, what you'll soon learn, and what I'm learning, is every session doesn't have to be 100%, because you will just break into a million pieces if you do that. So, if you go for a run with someone who's slower than you, that's fine. You don't have every run you go on doesn't have to be a personal best.
Exactly, mate. Exactly. And
every set of squats you do doesn't have to be 100 kilos if that's what you normally do. Like, do half. It's fine. You will get a benefit out of it. You're not going to go backwards in the space of a week.
Definitely.
It's all. That's when you start getting caught up in your own head of, like, well, I did that 8 days ago, so now I need to do it again. It's like, nah, you don't.
Yeah, you might actually come back stronger after a rest week or a bit of a deload week, or taking it easy for a little bit. Your nervous system recovers. It can fire them signals a whole lot stronger when you actually ask it to. Muscle fibers are in better condition and they fire when you need them to as well. So it's not always a case of no pain, no gain. It's not always like, oh, I need to run myself into the ground. And ache for 4 days to make sure that I've had a good session.
If you listen to any anyone who's at the top level of like fitness, like UFC fighters, boxers, footballers, Olympians, like they'll
Mhm.
tell you, and you listen to them on podcasts, you listen to get interviewed. If they're knackered from whatever they've done, the next session they do will be an easy session because it has to be. Like
Yeah.
you can't train for the Olympics and train 100%, 110% every single day because you'll not
No.
make it. Like you'd be dead within a month. Like
Yeah.
you know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like
Absolutely.
Usain
Yeah.
Bolt doesn't go out there and run a 9 second 100 meter whatever he runs like every day when he was
Every
training
day.
because
Yeah.
he couldn't do it. There's no way. You kind of push it. You can only push yourself so far,
Yeah.
and your body will start telling you like, look, this is too much.
Yeah. Think about it like driving a car. If you're redlining all the time, like
Yeah,
sooner or later something's going to give, isn't it?
definitely.
You've got to ease off and maybe it's even just cruise and coast from time
Yeah.
to time, haven't you? Do you
But
know
you
what
don't
I
have to
mean?
stop either. You know, you can do active rest,
Exactly.
which is a
Exactly. Yeah.
walk. I don't know, paint the shed. Um,
Yeah.
go and do the
Stretching,
shopping,
mobility
stretch.
stuff. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. All
doesn't
of
have
that
to be
sort of
sit
thing.
still on the
Yeah.
settee, but it's just yeah.
Just not work at the normal high intensity level that you normally would, you know.
Which
Um.
I'm guilty of. That's my main thing with training
Yeah.
is to try and push
Yeah.
it too hard all the
Yeah.
time.
I had one client who didn't believe in the idea of a deload week until I made him take one.
Yeah,
Because he was one of them that wanted a new personal best every week.
yeah. It's good
And I
while
was just,
you can do it, like, because
yeah,
sometimes you'll kick into it and you'll start flying and you'll hit and
yeah,
hit and hit and then you'll just hit this peak and that'll
yeah,
be it and you'll be like,
yeah,
right, this is gonna
yeah.
be something else. This.
He was getting to the point where he was getting the big one he was chasing every week was bench press. He was like, I want a
Yeah.
personal best. I want to get to, it was like 100 kilograms he wanted to get to. And after a few weeks, you know what, he was getting like getting a sore elbow, he was getting sore shoulders, he was coming down with cold. He was sleeping more on a night or feeling like he was absolutely flat out and sleeping more on a night. I said, mate, your body needs to rest. Your body needs to rest. And if you won't come in, I said, by all means, don't come in for a paid PT session and do a deload week.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Save those sessions that you've paid for till you're ready to hit the ground running. But I said, I will not do another session like this with you until you've taken a bit of a rest, because it would be absolutely irresponsible, knowing the knowledge that I knew and sort of have.
Yeah.
I said it would be irresponsible of me to keep pushing you at this rate. So yeah, sometimes you've got to know, like I say, you've got to know when to ease off a little bit.
I think you can even
Um,
do like I've known people to do like a 2 week long, like the routine spans 2 weeks, and
yeah,
one
yeah,
week it's heavy, 1 week it's light, and they just do that
yeah.
backwards and forwards.
Yeah, we used to do when I started training before I was PT, and we would do 1 week heavy, 1 week light, and then 1 week of circuits.
Yeah,
And then the aim is by the time you got to the following week, the weight that you'd used the previous week for heavy was
yeah,
going to be your weight for light the week after, and you were going to try and move up. But same again, that's caught in that, right? We need to progress every week. We need to move the weights up every time we get round to that cycle, which isn't always going to be accessible. You know, sometimes you get to the point where, like you say, buddy, you'll hit a plateau, or do you know what? You'll hit the maximum strength for your build. Or the mass that you've got on your frame at the minute, you know, and maybe adding more mass is going to be uncomfortable for you. You know, I've known that over the years as well. So yeah, there's all of these things that we've got to think about. We're thinking about just those last two that are on there as well, time limitations and making sure that you've got realistic goals. Your instructor or the gym member or the member of staff, sorry, might actually be able to help you with both of those sort of areas. Time limitations, you know, I've had people say to me, oh, do you know what, Rob, I'd love to get to the gym 5 days a week, but you know, I've only really got a couple of nights that I can commit to an hour. I said, well, how about if we could give you a session that lasted half an hour and you could come down 5 nights a week? It was like, yeah, that'd be great. That works loads better for me than coming down twice for longer. I'd rather come down, but I've still got to be there to pick me band up from school, or I've got to get home to start the tea or other responsibilities, you know. So again, a little bit of structure, I would say, right, instead of doing your strength training the way you're doing it, and you're doing a set as heavy as you can, and then standing around 5 minutes, why don't we give you some circuits? or something like that, where we maybe start the circuit quite heavy and then we'll have some cardio in there to keep your heart rate up, keep you burning, maybe some exercises on different body parts. So again, when you come around to do the strength phase at the start of your next circuit, those muscles have rested up and they're still relatively strong. So it's like they've had a few minutes rest when your whole body hasn't had a few minutes rest. And within half an hour, you're done. If you've done a Metafit class, you'll know within 20 minutes you're wrecked and you're begging for it to stop.
Yeah.
I know I've definitely been in classes like that as well. So again, that can help out with time limitations as well. I used to put it to people when I was trying to sort of mention PT and promote the ideas of PT. I would say, look, rather than thinking about it as buying yourself a PT or instruction in the gym or a food plan, if we can get to the point where you need to come to the gym or you come to the gym sort of 3 nights a week instead of 6, you've bought yourself 3 nights a week off, haven't you?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? You've bought yourself 3 nights with your feet up. You've bought yourself 3 nights with the kids or having family times or making the most of the sun in the summer before it's dark, as gyms are opening up again, I'm sure there's going to be those of us that go back to work. We do a full day. We go to the gym and do our exercise afterwards. And we've missed all day sunshine after, maybe it's a year of being isolated and living with restrictions. It would be nice to have a couple of nights a week, where you can say to yourself, okay, I'm gonna make sure I've got a couple of nights off just because my training is so much more structured now.
Yeah.
And realistic goals is a big one as well, because I think we can fall into the habit of setting ourselves these really, really unrealistic goals. I'm going to do 1 week of training and then I'm going to check my abs. I've done 1 set of sit-ups. I'm going to check my abs, see if they're coming through yet. How are they looking? How are they doing? It's not realistic. We've got to think about short-term and long-term, but we've got to be aware what is only possible in the long term, really, and that is real sort of sustainable change, the lifestyle change that's going to let your new habits hang around, because, of course, as your behaviors change, your physique's going to change as well. So if you go back to old habits, you go back to your old physique as well. So we need to make sure that goals are realistic, they're sustainable, the steps that we're going to put in place have maybe got a deadline on them. When am I going to be? It could be anything, when am I going to make sure I've got myself a new set of trainers to start running? It might be something that's a little bit harder to be time specific and say, do you know what, I'd like to get to 100 kilograms on the leg press.
Yeah.
Again, your body will only pick up that strength so quick, and I wouldn't recommend forcing through it at a rate quicker than your body's happy to get to that point. It's not all about getting there as fast as possible. I would say the idea is making sure that when you get there, you can stay there, be it avoiding injuries and making sure that you haven't hurt yourself, and maybe you aren't so burned out that you need a deload week straight after, that sort of thing. When it comes to weight loss, what's realistic? The amount of people that have come to me and say, I'm going on holiday in 2 weeks, what can you do? I'd be like, well, I can give you some bad news. Do you know what I mean? I can give you some bad news and cut all your carbohydrates out for the next 2 weeks, but you're going to get on holiday, you're going to go to the breakfast buffet and start on the carbs again, and you're going to bloat. You're better off keeping your carbs in. You're better off keeping your carbs in your diet, So again, just being realistic, again, weddings, I'm getting married in a month, what can we do? Well, a hell of a lot less than we could have done in 6 months if you'd have come to me and if you'd have come a little bit sooner.
Even 6 weeks.
6 weeks,
Chance.
Yeah, definitely. And of course, making sure that these goals are realistic, because at first, if you're resistance training, sometimes with certain cardio, depending on what you're doing, chances are you're going to ache for the majority of the first week. Do you know what I mean? That is the one thing that after a week off, for whatever reason, I've been on holiday, I've been busy with work or whatever, I take a week off. Soon after starting training again, I'm soon reminded why I don't like taking time off.
Yep.
You think to yourself like, oh, I'm just aching, my shoulders are hurting, my legs are aching, getting up and down the stairs hurts, going to the toilet hurts, If you start to think, oh, I'm hurting all over, I should be like a stone lighter by now. I should be absolutely ripped. Why haven't I made that progress? That's totally unrealistic, really. You need to get to the point where you're sort of not getting that soreness quite so much, and you can maintain that. And sooner or later, you'll come to associate that pain with progress.
Yeah.
Like I say, you get to the point with certain people, certain clients, where they're disappointed if they don't hurt the next day. So I've had to say to people, look, that wasn't the focus of what we're doing. We didn't work to muscle failure. You know, we did a lot of cardio stuff. We've worked your heart and lungs quite a lot. Don't be expecting for your legs to feel like they're going to drop off tomorrow. And just being realistic about that as well, you know. But it's the same with anything that we do. Goals need to be smart goals, don't they? You know, they need to be specific. They need to be measurable, you know, achievable, realistic, and I think the last one's sort of time specific as well, yeah. For a lot of them, and like I say, I always, when I was working with a client, I'd always make sure that we had short-term and long-term goals, whatever they were. They might be performance-based, they might be related to life outside the gym, and again, you know, it's a handy process. For the more a gym instructor knows about you, the more they can tailor stuff to you as well, you know. It might come down to, it might be a class. You know, I was on about last week how the more I could be prepared for the people that I was expecting in my class, obviously the more prepped I could kind of be. If I'm thinking to myself, okay, the last 4 weeks I've done this circuit class and, you know, it's been 95% the same people, I can maybe bank on them being here this week. And I can take that into consideration as well. The more I know somebody, the more I can plan around them. So I'm thinking, okay, that lady's been to the last few. She's not really comfortable jumping. She maybe needs to lose a little bit of like extra body weight before I would be happy telling her to jump on the spot and doing that sort of thing. I'm going to leave burpees out this week, you know. And for as much as, because the way I used to make the difference to people was, I would say personal training, 25, 20, whatever, however much it is an hour, is specific to you. You know, it's based around you. You come to a fitness class where you pay £3. The class needs to be as generic really as possible, or to apply to as many people as possible, so that more people come and more people are happy to join in and more people can benefit from it as well, you know. So, but at the same time, again, when it came to classes, if you see the same faces all the time, you can plan around them as well, you know. The amount of like stations I would put in a circuit and be like, do you know what, I can't wait to see so and so get to this station, whatever it might be. It might be an exercise that I knew they hated, but I was going to do it with them or something like that, you know. Really, really sort of helpful. I think I mentioned before again as well about people, mainly women hate press ups. Women in general, you know, I'm not gonna sort of say everybody. A lot of the women that I work with over the years, because women's strength is in their lower body due to sort of childbearing and stuff like that. It's not in their upper body quite so much. They don't like press ups. So what I would do if I saw somebody who hated press ups like with a passion getting to that station in the circuit, I'd make sure I was on that station waiting with them, and I'd do a press up with them, high five them in the middle, do a press up with them, high five in the middle. When they moved on, I'd go elsewhere and do my thing again, you know. And it all just comes from knowing your members and knowing people's needs and limitations a little bit better as well, you know. It helps us personalize things to you as much as we can, really. Okay, so that is pretty much the most I can think that we could take out of for that, you know. We talked about a couple of little extra bits in there as well. So we can spin on to the next slide and just talk about warming up and cooling down. I know that I touched on it last week.
Give me a minute, I'm gonna go and get some water. I'm talking for a drink. 2 minutes.
No worries, mate. So when it comes to, I'm just saying, waiting for the stream to catch up. I don't know whether Hatham spun on to the next slide or not. Yes, he has. Cool. So when it came to warming up and cooling down, you know, of course, warm up is to get your body into a pre-exercise state to make sure that, you know, muscles are warmer. We're not got cold joints, cold muscles that are just gonna get hurt as soon as we start moving. And cool downs can help us prevent soreness the next day, help with a lot sort of dealing with lactic acid, that sort of thing, and again just help with post-exercise tension. That's going to help us sort of loosen up a little bit more and take some strain off our joints. Now again, I mentioned last week ways to warm up. You're talking dynamic stretching, which is sort of you know, where you'll see sort of footballers twisting on the spot, that sort of thing, you know, doing leg lifts and sort of bringing the hips and their knees out to the side, that sort of thing, as opposed to just pulling a muscle and stretching it. That's what we call a static stretch. And those are going to be much better in your cool down, because if we do them in the warm up, we can actually pull a muscle too far, especially with it being cold. We can pull a muscle too far and stretch it. So then we go to start doing an exercise, and we've actually got more mobility there than we should, because we've done that stretch. So you can end up hyperextending. You can end up going into a range where you're going to put more strain on a secondary muscle and actually really end up hurting yourself. So yeah, we can warm up. We can even just doing a modified version of whatever it is you're about to do. If you're going for if you're going to be doing some heavy squats, can you warm up by doing squats on like either body weight, 25% of your maximum sort of weight sort of thing? Lots of different ways we could warm up. We can do a little bit of cardio. We could do a little bit of if we're coming in to do a run, can we warm our legs up just by jumping on the bike or something like that? I used to quite like the exercise bikes or the spin bikes as part of a warm up, because that at least leg muscles are getting worked, glutes, quads, hamstrings were getting worked, rather than coming in, doing a run on the treadmill, saying I'm warming up, and then going and starting to do a load of pull-ups where your shoulder joints are still quite cold, still quite stiff. Your lats are going to be as well. Biceps might be. And like I say, it's a really good way to injure yourself and do yourself a little bit of damage. So yeah, warming up, I would say, sort of just easing into things, stretching, but dynamic, active stretching, as opposed to static stretching, which is just grabbing a muscle and pulling it and lengthening it pretty much. That's perfectly fine to do in our cool down at the end of your session, as well as, again, maybe a little bit of cardio to finish up. Ethan, do you do much of a cool down when you're finishing your runs?
Yes.
Or anything like that? Yeah.
Running,
Obviously, go on,
any cardio, normally, or any circuits or anything, I'll do a bit. If it's just weights, I tend not to, because there's like not really much to cool down with. Like, I'm really like fired up the same system, really. But yeah.
Yes, of course. Yeah.
I do a bit stretching after everything, really. But
Yeah.
I do if I've done like running, I'll do like even just a walk. I'll walk about. Like I try and at least a 5-minute walk, and
just keep
try and
moving.
bring my heart rate down a bit, to be honest.
Well, yeah, that's it. Like let your heart rate come back down to normal. Yeah, definitely, buddy. Yeah, that's a really good point. And like some treadmills now and some cardio equipment will actually work out your cool down for you. Like, okay, you've done this speed for this long, right? We're going to slow down to this speed for this long, and then it'll turn itself off when you're actually done. So it's kind of bringing your body into a pre-exercise state or getting ready to exercise, and then bringing your body back down to that regular sort of state afterwards as best as possible. Let the blood get around your body again to where it should be, rather than in the muscle that you've just pumped it all to. And again, just dealing with lactic acid and stuff like that. So yeah, different ways to warm up, different ways to cool down. And again, a lot of it just being the name of keeping safe and keeping injury free as well. Okay, guys, so we've got just a couple of slides to do before we finish up. Okay, so the next one we're looking at, we've talked about it quite a lot so far, really, but what is a PAR-Q? Covering a PAR-Q, what sort of thing we would expect. So on the next slide, we've got a physical activity readiness questionnaire. Is a form containing information that should be obtained from clients before they begin their fitness journey. As they're starting the gym, as they're starting their personal training. I always used to have my own PAR-Q that I'd give people asking for my own information, separate from the gym, but the gym would always have their own as well. Now, again, the benefits of a PAR-Q, we've talked about them a little bit this morning. Helps identify where your starting point is, the health of where your health is, maybe. Because you know what, when I was giving people an induction, the last thing I wanted to do would be like, there's this machine, it moves, it does this. Move down to the next machine. There's this machine, you use it this way, it does this. You'd be on all day, do you know what I mean? And by the end of the session, people would be like, I can't remember what the first machine was. Whereas if I can read through somebody's PAR-Q or a little bit of a questionnaire, I can say, okay, this is where they're at right now, I can tell they're maybe not going to be using the squat rack. They maybe not going to be using the leg press, but I can make a point right now of showing them the leg extension and the leg curl machine. I can pick out what's going to be more beneficial to them and their goals, and help them get more out of their induction, and then say to people, when you're ready for more machines or to branch out a little bit more, come and let me know. Again, rather than saying, right, here's all the machines in the gym, this is how they work. Remember them, you're on your own, see you later, I'd always make the induction part of the process where they'd feel comfortable enough coming up to me and saying afterwards, a month down the line, 3 months down the line, Rob, would you mind coming and just showing us how to use this? I feel like I'm ready at this point now, you know.
Yeah.
It can assist in identifying individuals who need special attention or who should not be exercising until they obtain medical clearance from a doctor. Something like sort of like I mentioned earlier on, be it do we need to be like I say special attentions, or do we need to send you away to a GP to get sort of clearance to be participating? Good opportunities to ask questions about clients' sort of preferences, wants, needs, goals, all of that sort of thing. It helps a personal trainer become more familiar with physical abilities. Again, you know, can people jump? Can people get low enough into a squat without the heels coming up or their legs buckling in towards each other? What realistically can I give them to do on session one? Because, of course, we always want people to hit the ground running. Then, of course, there's the legal side of things where it's protecting people against grievances and potential legal problems, where you can say, do you know what? I didn't know that you had ruptured like your cruciate ligament a few years ago and you've had work done on it. You didn't declare that. We've now done squats and now you need another operation. You know, if you'd have declared that, I wouldn't have had you doing squats in the first place. And like you mentioned earlier on here, it just sort of covers your back a little bit as well.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah,
definitely. I mean, it's like something that can inform the person as well. They might not have thought about it like that before.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely. Definitely. You know, the amount of people that'll see so and so's doing that because they want to look like this, so I'm going to do that as well. You know, if someone's doing stuff that's really sort of against your physical abilities or not leaning into the best of your physical abilities, you're selling yourself short and you're potentially going to hurt yourself again. You know, you've got somebody doing box jumps who's up at this height, and you think, oh, do you know what? I want to give that a go. You've never done them before. You go over and you trip, you forget your feet caught, you smash your shins, and then you've got the chronic fever doing box jumps like forever, which I have seen done as well. You know, so like you say again, it is really handy, you know, to be able to say to somebody, look, if you've done your ligament 3 years ago, I need to recommend that you don't do contact sports, and I need to recommend that we're training this way rather than this way, you know, like you say, give people a little bit of feedback. Opening lines of communication between doctors and personal trainers wasn't something that I did every time. It was necessary every time, but the couple of times it did come in handy, it was really handy. You know, there was a lass that I started training or who joined the gym. I wasn't training her because she had chronic fatigue and she could only do 10 minutes at a time. Now she came in to sign up for PT and I said, look, I can't rightly charge you for an hour when me and the doctor have both said, look, you should only be doing 10 minutes at a time. Do you know what I mean? I can sign you up to the gym and I can show you the machines I would put you on, and I'll even give you 10 minutes plan to go and do by yourself when you're in. But I was like, rightly, I'm not going to charge you for PT. I can't charge you for PT because I can't do enough to justify it. Yeah, you know, at the same time, I would speak to a doctor and say, look, she's done 10 minutes this week, twice. Let me know whenever you get any test results back, and I can factor that in as well. If you find out any more, let me know and I can change the training. And it's really handy because again, it's these professionals working together to help you get the most out of your time and your money, really.
Definitely.
And then, of course, the main reason I would end up using PAR-Qs and stuff, information gathered can be very helpful when designing an exercise program. You know, if somebody joins the gym day one, hasn't done a PAR-Q, I'm spending their free session picking their brains and trying to figure out what they can and can't do, really, where they want to get to, what's their goals, what's their sort of aspirations. When really, if I've seen, oh, somebody's booked in for their free PT this week, I'm going to go pull their PAR-Q file and put something together that's actually going to suit them. You know, not only does it benefit that member a little bit more, but it adds value to PT. They'd be like, oh, okay, this is really sort of specific to what I want to do. Now I see the value of personal training rather than coming in for a fitness class that's generalized to sort of everybody, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's a lot we can gain from a PAR-Q. Definitely, be it in terms of safety, knowledge, structure. You know, it's always something that you should be doing, and gyms that you're going into should be sort of enforcing you to do, really. Okay, buddy. So we'll roll on to the next slide then, which is pretty much the last one that we've got to do, bar the info slide at the end. So talking about that gym induction, we've mentioned that a FACL would normally be part of that procedure. What else would you normally get? What else would you normally expect? Now, all gyms are going to do this differently. My style of doing inductions has changed over the years. Like I say, the first gym I was in, I'd take people around. I'd be on 45 minutes. Here's this machine. Here's this machine. This is how this works. That's how that works. In some gyms, here's the changing rooms. Here's the swimming pool. That sort of thing. When, like I say, it would get to the point where I would be more aware of their specific goals, what their intentions were. I'm like, okay, I can say to him, right, the swimming pool, sauna and steam rooms through there. I don't need to show you because you've not really shown any interest in wanting to use them. You've mentioned to me that, yeah, you want to do you want to develop your arms and you want to develop your shoulders. I'm going to go and show you how the cables work and the dumbbells and show you a couple of exercises. And again, building that rapport and that relationship with people so they feel comfortable enough when they're ready to come and say, right, can you show me something else now, please? And again, that something else, again, would always be kind of specific to what their goals were. That wouldn't then be like, all right, I'll take you over and show you how the rower works. You know, it'll be right now. I'm going to show you how we might use sort of like the seated bicep curl, or you know, show a different couple of different exercises. You'd expect to be shown where the changing rooms were, especially if you were expected to be using them, you know, be it lockers, you know, putting stuff in your locker so it's not on the gym floor. Again, creating hazards for people to fall over, potentially stuff going missing. Lockers can always help me. And like I say, we've got the changing rooms there as well. Class timetable might be something that you're interested in, you know, if you game on the idea of sort of group exercise, or maybe you're a little bit unsure about what to be doing by yourself. Maybe PT is not an option financially, or you're a little bit sort of put off by the idea of working one-on-one with somebody. You know, you might be able to say, okay, can you direct me towards your class timetable? And you might actually be able to start getting people booked on, you know, there and then in the moment. I'll be able to say, okay, we've got a what was it, like a Les Mills body pump class next Tuesday. I'll put your name down for that now if you want while I'm on, you know. I'm going to come back to staff introduction. Opening times is an important one, obviously, because you need to know when the gym's going to be open. Does it suit your availability? You know, if you can only train before work at 6 o'clock in the morning, is the gym even open then, or does it open at 7, 8 o'clock? Does it give you time to do what you need to do? Closing times, you know, do you have time to go home, have your tea, then come to the gym, or does it close at like 7, 8 o'clock and you need to think to yourself, right, I need to do gym, then go home, and then of course you need to work your exercise and your food differently as well.
And that can be stressful as well, trying to fit it all in.
Yeah, definitely.
Even just thinking about fitting it in can put you know, put a lot of people off.
100%, mate, you know, when it comes to opening time. Then we've got different membership options as well. You'd like to know, is there an off-peak option that, you know, it's a 10 or less a month that's only available on a weekend, but that's the only time I'm planning on training, you know. We used to have an off-peak option during the day because, of course, a lot of people are at work. If you want to come into the gym between 9 o'clock in the morning and 5 o'clock tea time, and only in those times, your membership's only going to be £15 a month. Whereas if you want to come in at the busier times and have access all weekend and 24, right, pretty much the entire time the gym's open, your membership's going to be £25-30 a month. So you'd like to be aware of different membership options. You know, if you've got someone who would qualify for an OAP membership, who doesn't get told about that membership, you know, that's a tenner a month, and you let them sign up for 12 months on £30 a month, you're going to be in the bad books, aren't you? Yeah. You know, because they're then going to have every right to try and cancel their membership.
Oh, definitely.
You're then going to say, well, you've signed it now, we kind of expect this off you for the next 12 months. And it doesn't create a good, it's certainly not a good introduction to your gym and to your environment for sure. And then, like I say, the last one I wanted to come back to before we wrap for the day really was staff introductions, because that's the biggest thing you're going to get from your induction, I would say. You know, you can always figure out the facilities, you can always figure out the equipment that the gym's got or how to use it. Like I say, opening times, membership options are going to be really important. Your class timetable you can find later on down the line, but before you put pen to paper and commit to usually a 12-month membership, you need to know what the staff are like. You know, you need to realize how much you're going to get from them. You know, like I say, that was pretty much what my inductions were. I'm so and so, nice to meet you, and make sure that you feel comfortable coming and asking me questions. Have a little bit of a laugh, help them feel relaxed in an environment that, of course, is totally new to them.
Yeah.
If you're going for an induction and the member of staff goes, well, there's that, give us a shout if you need anything. How comfortable are you going to be going and asking for help, and how much faith are you going to have in the answer that you get, when him trying to show you bits of kit was like, oh, it's over there, there's that over there, there's the cardio machine over there. Yeah, you think to yourself, is this the gym for you? Is this the gym that you want to sign up to? And for some people, they'd rather go and sign their PARQ, crack on, never need to ask anybody for any help ever. You're much better off being in a gym where you're going to feel comfortable saying, do you know what, I could do with a little bit of a hand. And I always try to make sure that I was that PT, not in spite of other PTs. The more PTs that are like that, the better. It wasn't trying to get one up or be more approachable or anything like that. But you know what, at the end of the day, when people then thinking, okay, I do want personal training, or I do have a couple of questions, it was me that they'd come and ask, because they knew that I had time for them, I'd like to think so, mate. I'd like to think so, the same as I always say to you guys, if you've got any questions, reach out. It's that relationship that I'm always interested in. Everything else can kind of come with time. It'll be worked on. But a staff introduction during an induction, it is your first chance to make them first impressions. And do you know what? In that case, first impressions are probably right. If the person showing you around doesn't seem that bothered, they're like, oh well, take it or leave it. Join the gym or don't. It says a lot about the way that they're going to value your custom, really, doesn't it?
I think you'll get that sometimes as well, where you might just catch them on an off day, but you might have an experienced member of staff and be like, you know what, not for me, that one.
Yeah, oh, definitely, yeah. I've had people leave the gym floor with a PT on the gym floor to come to the front desk and ask me, well, will you come and show us this, or would you show us how this works? Do you know what? And it just comes from that sort of approach of, right, okay, the relationship comes first, figuring the person out comes first, and we can sort of tailor everything else around it afterwards, I think them couple of questions that we've got at the bottom there, we've probably answered throughout the course of this morning. How's a gym induction in a PARQ helpful for gym staff? Helps us learn about you, what you need, what your goals are. I've actually had people before where I've said to them, like, I don't think the gym's for you. You'd be better off joining a swimming baths or joining a walking group and getting yourself out and about rather than paying 40 quid a month.
Yeah.
Didn't always go well with gym management, and I was turning memberships away. But you know what? That would have been somebody probably who would have joined up for a month, and then we'd have seen out else off anyway, because they weren't they wouldn't have gotten the most out of it. And then I've got that trust and that relation and that honesty and that transparency, where if they then come back and say, "Am I ready now?" and I say yes, they know that, yeah, okay, do you know what? Like, I trust this person's word. He hasn't just tried to sign me up to get me sort of initials on the dotted line and to get a direct debit out of us for 12 months.
Yeah.
So that there is a balance with it as well.
There's that as well with the ones where you can do it online. Like, you can just go on. You don't have to ring up and have a complicated conversation with someone about why you want to leave. You can just literally go on the app or the website and just be like, I cancel my membership. They make it quite difficult, obviously, because they don't want you to make it just easy. But it's fairly straightforward to cancel the service. And there is a number on there, and if you ring them and say, I want to cancel, they're not going to give you the long hard spiel, the hard sell. They're just like, right, okay, fine.
Yeah, fair enough, yeah. And then we've done how would a gym induction in PARQ be helpful for the client? Of course, for your own peace of mind, for your own safety. It helps instructors learn more about you. You can make sure that the gym's going to be for you, and like I say, making sure that we're doing everything about as safely as we possibly can. And that'll about do us for today, guys. Actually, I don't know where the last 2 hours have gone. They've flown over. If you don't mind just loading up the last slide, please, buddy, just so as guys come back and revisit the session, they can pull this up to just see what the homework is, or when our next session is.
Yeah. The link to the workbook is in the description as well, but I'll put it in the chat.
Oh, amazing, buddy. Excellent. Thank you very much.
And the workout video as well. And the survey.
Yeah. So as always, we've got a fitness video ready to go. If you click the link and you think to yourself, oh, I fancy working a different body part this week, of course, they're all on their own playlist in the on the Media Staffy channel now as well. So just have a look about, if you're feeling abs this morning, dig that one out, give your abs a good workout, or your core. Or we can do. I think the one we've got for today is a legs and booty workout as well. Nice. So maybe that is what you're feeling this morning. So yeah, give them a go. Let us know how you get on. As always, please don't forget to fill in the survey. That'll be in the description below the video as well. In the chat as well. Cheers, bud. Like I say, your feedback's really important to us. We'd like to know, of course, what we're doing well. We always like to know what we can change to suit you guys as well as possible. And of course, it gives us a lot of help with filling in a lot of info we can use on paperwork, and we don't have to chase you up for comments and that sort of thing as well. So, yeah, less than 30 seconds we can get that done. So the homework for this week, if Ethan doesn't mind just pulling up the workbook for us, just for 2 minutes.
Page 3 there.
Yeah, so we've got pages 3, 4, and 5 in the workbook.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just making sure that we get those done. So what we got? So page 3, we have got
health and safety.
Yeah, health and safety. Why it's important for fitness instructors to be aware of needs and limitations. We've talked about that one. We've looked at a Part Q. Outline an induction process for joining an exercise or fitness facility. You know, so that might be a particular gym that you've been to, and you can think specifically what the procedure is or what you would expect to go through through an induction. How that can be helpful for the gym staff, and how it can be helpful for the client as well. Is page 4, and then for page 5, we mentioned it last week, and I said do it last week if you could get it done. But we've talked about warming up and cooling down a little bit more this week. So yeah, making sure that we've got one activity that's suitable for a warm up and one activity that's suitable for a cool down in there as well. And then, like I say, that'll do us for the week. Pages 3, 4, and 5.
Yeah.
Get them done, nice and straightforward. And yeah, that is all we've got to do this week. No more posters to do or anything like that. We're just thinking about getting that workbook filled in and making a good start. Cool, right, guys? So that'll do us for this morning then. Unless you've got anything to add yourself, Hatham?
No, mate. Everything should be in the chat or on the in the description. So you guys should be good to go.
Spot on, buddy. Cool. So as always, reach out, drop me an email if you need to. I'm always happy to help. Stay safe, guys. We'll be back next Tuesday, same time for session 10. Look after yourselves, of course, especially as restrictions are lifting and we're moving back to a bit of normality. Of course, just stay vigilant, keep your guard up, keep doing what we've got to do and what we have been doing. Look after yourselves, and I'll catch you guys next week then.
Yeah, class.
Cool.
Bye, guys.
Spot on. See you later.